Sleepy town settling for the night, where the Owens women live their lives, and it's about time that the back porch light comes on at that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street. Hey, witch, hey.
Hey, witch, hey.
Now I can't unhear it.
No,
Now that we said that on the last episode that you do it like a question, now it's always going to be a question.
It shall be a question for now and always.
I'm Justina.
And I'm Christina.
And we're the Stinas. Welcome to Magnolia Street.
How are you doing?
All right. Good.
You doing?
How my orange juice? How you doing?
I'm good.
No, you're not.
Getting better.
Don't lie to our audience.
This comes out like 3 weeks from now, so they're going to be like, she's still fucking sick. When in reality, I haven't been sick for a while, but I think I might have the flu.
How's your belly?
My belly hurts. I still have a fever.
You have a fever?
Yes,
Oh, shit.
I know.
Did you take a COVID test?
I did not. Should I?
Yes.
Should I do it right now while we're
do it right on the air?
Okay.
Jam that shit up your nose.
This is the Magnolia Street podcast advocating to test yourself if you feel sick.
Yeah, man. I'm convinced I had COVID twice last year. I know for sure I had it once. I only tested positive the once, but the second time I tested negative, but I just like my symptoms were so random and like weird that I was like, this has to be COVID. I've never experienced that must be right. I must feel amazing right now.
Do I have to do both?
I think so.
Okay. When I was in second grade, I got put in the timeout chair because I showed Lauren Gardner my boogies and my tissue.
Lovely.
So Lauren, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, jam it all up in there.
It did. The little T line is not showing up yet, so I don't think it's COVID.
It might take like 15 minutes.
I know. I'm impatient.
Those usually take a while.
You got your color coordinated today.
Oh, there's grease all over my computer now.
Is that a mojito? Is that a mimosa? Or is it a normal OJ?
It's just regular OJ. I needed some kind of like sugar.
Yes.
I'm dragging ass. And I was like, oh, I don't know if my stomach can handle coffee right now.
Oh no. What do we got? We're at 10 minutes and it's still no T line, so that's good.
Okay.
Give it 5 more. Live on the air. COVID results. Dude, when COVID first happened, I could not for the life of me say COVID. I kept calling it Corvid. Like the bird flu. Every time. I'm hoping future us had a really nice Christmas. I might have come and gone to Pennsylvania in that time. And
that's right.
We'll see, man. Yeah.
You only need to drive a couple more hours and you'll be in Jersey.
You know, I thought about that. I was like, 2 more hours is not that far.
Yeah. And Jersey's not that big, so.
I know. It's not that bad.
Come up to Jersey.
Maybe in the spring. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, you don't want to come here now. It's kind of shitty right now. It's all gloomy and cold, and I'm drying up. I'm like layering on the chapstick and the lotion like every 5 seconds.
Yeah. You just slip slide right out the door on the way to work.
Yep. Yeah, it's not even chapstick. It's just Crisco at this point. I'm just give me all the moisture. Yeah.
It's lard. Oh, no. It's very rainy here too.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect day.
But you made a cozy little cinnamon banana bread this morning. That looks so toasty and cozy.
Oh, my house smells so good. It smells amazing. I had those bananas for like 2 weeks and they were ready. So,
but that's like the best time to make it, right? When those are rotting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the house smells good. Second cup of tea, so we might take a bathroom break in between. Rain's coming down, and we have a patron that we need to acknowledge.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Welcome, Charlotte C. Welcome to the Magnolia Street fam.
Thank you, Charlotte C.
Yes, thank you for all of your support. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of our other patrons on the Patreon over there, doing their thing, answering the polls, getting in on all the hot goss. All right.
Do you want to do the honor and tell everybody our big ass news?
All right. Well, I'm sure if you guys have been following us on Instagram, you probably may have seen this in our stories. But this is actually kind of funny how it happened though, right? Because the story in and of itself of this happening is just hysterical.
Go,
So
tell him.
yeah. So my cousin we had just wrapped up recording the last episode last Tuesday. This happened last Tuesday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was on a recording day. Me and Christina had already said our goodbye for the day. We just wrapped up the episode. And then my cousin texted me. Shout out to Josie. Josie, she texted me, my cousin, and she was just gushing about the podcast. She loves it so much. And I'm like, you gotta be a guest on the show. At some point. She does like numerology
Sure.
and stuff, which is really cool.
Nice.
So she was just gushing about the show. She's read every book Alice Hoffman has ever written, she said.
Oh,
And
wow.
she loves practical magic. She's seen the movie, she's read all the books. She's pretty obsessed too. So
Oh,
she was
wow.
just, chatting with us about the podcast, and we were talking about Alice Hoffman herself, and she was like, she was like, she's got to know about you guys. She knows about you guys. Like, don't put it past her. She's listening, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And while I was on the phone with her, we were on the phone for like a good maybe hour or so.
Mm.
And then I was getting ready to leave for work. And I was getting a phone call from you while I was on the phone with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's weird. Christina never
Mm.
calls me. She always just either Marcos me or she just texts me. Like, you never call me. So right away, I was like, what's going on? Something's up. I need, like, what's going on? And then it didn't just stop there. Like, you hung up and then you kept calling me.
I kept
And then it
calling.
stopped ringing and you kept calling me. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? So
I don't call people. And I was like, you motherfucker better pick up your phone. This is an emergency. And you weren't answering.
I was on the phone, and I'm never on the phone, which is so weird. So
I
like,
am your business partner.
so you kept calling me. I was like, what the fuck, Christina? Can't this wait? And I get a text from you, and I'm like, all right, let me just see what the text says. So then, like, I'm wondering if it's like really serious, like if it's an emergency. So I look at the text, and it's just like, Alice Hoffman is following us. And it's like, I was like, oh my God. And I was still on the phone with my cousin at that point. I was like, Josie, what were we just talking about?
Yeah.
I was like, Alice Hoffman is fucking following us on Instagram. She's like, oh my God, that's so weird. She was like, see, our words are power.
Insane. I don't think Alice will be listening to our episodes. It'd be really cool if she did.
Probably not.
But
no.
like, we were like, we just want you. We just want you to know that we love you. And
Yeah.
please don't ask us to stop, cease and desist, please.
But then it didn't even stop there. Like, she shared our most recent post, which was the review, the Apple Podcast review. She shared that to her stories.
My soul left my body.
Yeah.
She knows who we are.
And then Christina made a story saying my soul just left my body. And it was like that really triumphant Amas Veritas theme. It's like, da, no, 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 no. And it felt like the waves crashing in that like Little Mermaid scene when she's on the rock.
Yeah.
And the water's just like gushing up in her face.
And then you called me and you were like, what the shit? But then you Marco'd me later. Like, I'm having an emotional reaction to this right now. And I Marco'd you back, like, we were both kind of teary-eyed because we didn't set out to like get her attention. Initially, this was a musical project and we didn't know how to get the music out there. So it was the podcast that came next. And it's for fun because this is what we love to talk about. And we're like, well, we want Alice to know how we love it and how many other people love it. And the fact that now she knows, like, she's so important to us. That's just like, what? And the fact that she takes the time to share like other people's stories of her work, and she likes other creators, and we just really, really were humbled and honored and so appreciative.
I still can't believe it.
I can't believe it. Alice,
but that's so cool. So thank you, Alice, Miss Hoffman, for following us on the Instagrams and sharing our stories. And I think we got a little influx of followers from that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We just want everybody to come to Magnolia Street and just hang out and talk about practical magic.
Prac Maj.
Prac Maj. Prac Maj. Oh, I don't like that.
Hashtag prac match. That sounds disgusting.
Okay.
Anyway.
COVID negative.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Alice Hoffman, thank you so much. We're super fans, and we hope you're still following us at this point in time at the end of December.
I know she might just get sick of our shit and just be like, different block. She did react to, what's it called? Oh, I reacted. I sent like a little clapping emoji to one of her stories. I forget what story it was, but then she hearted my clapping. So I was like, oh, she's reacting to my.
She sees our stuff now.
Yeah.
Like on her feed when she's sitting there with her little puppy dog writing that next big novel.
Yeah.
Magnolia Street memes come up. Oh, man.
The Magnolia Street memes. We haven't had a good one in a while, right? We haven't had any memes in a while.
I know. I was trying to be more professional. I was like, we don't need this bullshit up here. Nobody's going to know what this podcast is about. I'd be like, the hell Billy Zane doing up here?
You guys like the memes? Let us know.
Make your own memes and tag us in them.
Yeah, tag us in them. We will repost them to our feed because that's less work for us to make the memes. So by all means, we will take memes. That's a meme in itself. By all memes, we will take memes.
By all means. That sounds so desperate.
All right. So we had a Spotify Wrapped. Did you see the Spotify Wrapped?
I did not.
You didn't?
I looked at mine, but I didn't look at what was our personal one.
The podcast had a Spotify Wrapped.
What is it?
Spotify creates this wrapped, I guess, what is it called? Like
collection of your music, of what you listened to that year, your trends, your most listened to music, songs, podcasts.
Yes.
Genres.
So it says in 2022, you did your thing and people loved it.
That's crazy because we only started in October.
I know, right? It says you created 94 minutes of new content. That's more than 37% of other creators in the religion and spirituality category. Isn't that nuts? Your podcast loves to travel.
Okay. Well, we know Mears in Australia.
Yeah. So our podcast was heard in 5 countries. Our top 3 were number 1, the United States, number 2, Canada, and number 3, Australia. And it says something magical happened between October 30th, which it was
our premiere.
Right. Or was it the 31st? We launched on Halloween, right? Mm-hmm. So between October 30th and November 5th, it said you had 139% more listeners compared to your average week. What?
Damn.
Well, that was launch week, so that's understandable because we did have like an explosion of listeners that very first episode, and then it kind of weaned off a little bit, and now it's starting to pick back up again. I feel like everybody is catching up with the episodes now. And I talked to a couple people, and a couple people said the same thing. They said, I listened to the first couple episodes and then like I stopped because I didn't want it to end yet. I wanted to binge everything all at once.
Wow.
So that's probably why we saw a drop off in listeners after like the first couple episodes, because people were still catching up. And also the people who are bingers didn't want to listen until they had more of a catalog to listen to. So
I like that.
Yeah, it's all about the binge these days.
I love a binge.
So let's see the next slide. It says, whoever said sharing is caring was probably a fan of yours. It says your podcast was in the top 20% most shared globally, and here's how listeners spread the word. So 79% was via direct link, 11% was via Instagram, 5% was via text, 3% was other, and 2% was via Facebook.
Wow.
So I'm thinking that the direct links that we've been sharing in our Instagram stories, maybe that's helping. So thank you guys for sharing the links and getting people to our podcast. We really appreciate it. So it says, pop quiz, what percent of your listeners follow your podcast? Meaning they actually have to click the follow button on Spotify.
77.
You think it's 77?
Yeah. Go big.
All right. Correct. You're right. That's a lot.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for following.
It says you're in the top 20% most followed podcasts.
That way you get that little notification on Fridays when that new episode comes out.
Yeah, man. So what are Magnolia Street listeners like exactly? Your listeners' podcast personality is the devotee.
Very nice.
And that means when your fans love a podcast, they really love it. They're quick to support new releases and play their favorite episodes over and over. And you know what's really funny? The people playing the episodes over and over is probably just me and you.
I know. It is. Like, oh, damn, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Exactly. It says you're a top 10 podcast for 35 fans. You're a top 5 podcast for 24 fans, and you're the number 1 podcast for 9 fans. So thank you,
It's
9
you
people.
and me and our moms.
Yeah, basically. And a few other people.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for, just listening and sharing and enabling us to get our voices out there and just spreading the Magnolia Street and Practical Magic love. We really appreciate it.
And tagging Alice Hoffman in everything we post.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're so happy.
I know.
Tongue pop. We hope everyone enjoyed the first song-isode, the Magnolia Street one. We hope to do many, many more. And for the full song that you're able to stream, go over to our Patreon and join the $8 tier. It will be on there.
We hope you enjoyed that first song-isode, and we want to do more of those for you, but we need some help. Yeah, we would really appreciate your guys' help if you went over to your Apple Podcast, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, and if you left a review, leave us some stars. Be honest, if it's not a 5-star review, that's fine too. We just want your feedback and want to know what we can do to make this podcast better, a better listening experience for you and everybody else who listens. We need 2 more written reviews, and we'll say a few more 5-star reviews, and then we'll release the next song-isode.
So it might be earlier than we anticipated.
It might be, but that's fine.
I hope it is.
When we get reviews, we get bumped up in the algorithm. So the reviews are a really essential and important part of this whole operation.
Help bump us up, and then we get you some music for those ears. So I got the best news. Sally just came out.
Today, we are talking about coming out of the broom closet. Just to explain a little bit about what that means. So the term broom closet, let's define it. So it's to publicly reveal that one is a Wiccan or some other type of pagan or somebody who practices the art of witchcraft. And anybody who is considered a witch, I guess, right, would not be considered part of an Abrahamic religion. An Abrahamic religion is like Judaism or Christianity or Islam. All of those religions are religions whose teachings are based on the belief in a covenant between God and humankind, which witchcraft is really not, right?
Right. So yeah, the paganism, and there are so many, like a huge spectrum of that fall under the pagan umbrella. Like I consider myself like an animist. That falls under there. You don't have a god. However, I know in the Wiccan faith, they do believe in a god and goddess, but we're just talking about non-Abrahamic religions. Let's start with because usually the non-Abrahamic religions are considered occult. I've always been interested in the occult. Occult is not cult.
A cult, right. Which I think is what a lot of non-witches who hear that word probably think it means, which might be part of the negative stereotype, maybe.
Yeah, super stigma that's behind the word occult is crazy, because when you think of like a pagan gathering, you think like picture the beginning scene in Outlander, like women dancing and blowing, like white carrying torches, and like that looks like a cult. You know what I mean?
You think so? Do you think that looks like a cult?
For somebody who does not practice, I would be like, ooh, that is of the devil. We don't do that.
See, that to me seems more beautiful and more of the earth. To me,
as a witch, though.
Right, I know, but as a witch. But to me, even me, as somebody who, identifies with the pagan world and that whole scene, I even like when you see like those movie stereotypes about like secret societies and like meetings in like hooded robes, like that shit to me feels more culty than what you just described.
Okay, so my example was poor. I'll admit.
No, I'm not saying it's poor. I'm just saying it's like it's interesting how we all have different notions of what is beautiful and what is a little more scary and taboo.
But occult, OCCULT, is anything that's supernatural, mystical, or has magical beliefs or practices, any phenomenon. Do you think like aliens would be considered occult? Because it's a phenomenon of some, celestial beings.
It is. I don't know. Do you know of any kind of like witchy or pagan practice that involves aliens? Do
Oh
people
yeah.
incorporate that into their? I don't know because that's not my bag. I don't kind of
Yeah.
venture off into the extraterrestrial realm. I mean, I love it, but I don't normally associate that with my practice. But I mean, maybe
No.
people do. I don't know. Do you know people
Yeah,
that do?
I do.
Oh, cool. That's
And
really
not
awesome.
just it's very odd to me, but also like in their sense, like the alien beings could also be like the upper echelons of angels. Know what
Okay.
I mean?
Right.
So that
Yeah.
could be
No, you're
another
right.
occult phenomenon.
Totally.
And then when talking about cults, cults are a system of religion veneration, or excuse me, religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. When I think of cults, so here's my thing. When I was going to that women's group and I became a pagan priestess, we all wore white. We all wore white for our ordination. And the thing in my mind was like, am I in a cult? Am I in a cult? I kept bringing it back to
Uh-huh.
we are not praying to anybody. We are not giving money to anybody. We are not we didn't it was a democracy, you know, it wasn't one person was the leader. That was not what it's like. So in my mind,
Right.
I wasn't giving any money to anybody and we weren't praying to anybody.
You weren't worshiping a person that deemed themselves a guru.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So
But I
yeah,
can
and that
understand how that would feel that way.
I know.
I think any group of women that just like get together and just, I guess, to, I don't know, come into their power or just joining together, just a group of women joining together in general, I think is just like a very witchy thing. I used to work for this company and we used to go around to different like daycare centers and preschools and like sing for the kids. And it was like a singular kind of like job. Like I never worked with anybody in my company. It was always just me going to my own schools. But every few months we would have to get together to kind of review the curriculum. And it was always a group of women just sitting in a circle, just singing together.
Okay.
And that, and I was like, this seems very witchy. And
Yeah.
that's just how I always felt there. And it always felt a little culty. So I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe just like a group of people joining together in general just
Isn't
seems
that
very
awful that
culty.
it now
Yeah,
has that?
yeah.
So like a huge like cult situation. We were talking about like the satanic panic in one of our recent episodes. What episode was that? We were talking about Richard Ramirez and
Oh, I don't remember.
how you know, the Manson family cult. We could go on and on and on and
Uh-huh.
on. Satan is a Christian creation. Personally, if I don't believe in a God, if I don't believe in a Christian God, I'm not believing in Satan
Right.
because they just don't mesh. If one doesn't follow Christianity, they most likely have nothing to do with Satan unless you're a part of Satanism or the Satanic Temple. And I recommend like going and reading their pillars, their laws, because a lot of this stuff is like, am I a Satanist? Like this makes a lot
Well,
of
yeah.
sense.
Okay. All right. Me and Avi kind of had this discussion, and this discussion actually comes up a lot because as we know, we go to Salem every Halloween, and
Mm-hmm.
we have visited the was it the Satanic Temple of Salem,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically like an art gallery. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically what it is, but they also use it for meetings. It's basically all it is separation of church. They believe in separation of church and state. That's basically all they preach,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's not
Yeah.
really actually worshiping Satan, I don't
Yeah,
think.
there is, what does Sally say? There is no devil in the
There
craft
is no devil
because
in the
we don't
craft.
have it. It's all about what culture you're in, what pantheon you follow. Every pantheon has some kind of trickster god, whether that's Loki in the Norse mythology, Hades, Lucifer has his own. Oh my gosh, we could talk, this is coming out of the broom closet, but if you get a chance, look
Yeah.
at the background of where Lucifer comes from. And Anansi, who is a trickster, like a spider character.
Okay.
Is that right?
Okay.
Um,
Real quick,
yes,
Lucifer.
it is
Wait, so
not.
is Lucifer the fallen angel?
Yes,
And
yeah,
is
and
that
there's.
or is that not part of the Catholic or Christian kind of teaching?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as Satan?
No.
Huh.
So I'll send you this TikTok. I don't want to paraphrase it incorrectly, but basically
Okay.
the word Lucifer, what is it? The morning star.
Right, yes.
The morning star is also Venus.
Okay.
So there's a whole connection astrologically with who Lucifer is. It's
Interesting.
very interesting. So we just wanted to differentiate between what a cult and a cult is, because being in the broom closet, people tend to stay in, right? Because there's such a stigma behind their interests of the occult world, of supernatural, mystical, magical practices, because
Right.
people think of it as woo. People think of it, could still think of it as evil.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about like what the phrase coming out of the broom closet, or just coming out in general, means.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we talk about coming out in this episode, we are talking about that scene where Sally phones everybody and she goes, "I'm a witch." But that doesn't just necessarily mean coming out about your religion. It doesn't have to mean just about your sexuality or your spirituality. Just stepping forward, stepping up, and owning yourself. And whether that's like speaking up
Mhm.
with some a point of view that is maybe not favored, but being
Right.
true to yourself, owning your talents or your passion. So that is where I think we're going for.
And you know what? I think when stepping up, you're kind of taking the power away from other people to ostracize you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because, like, in the intro, in the beginning, when they're kids, we see like people go, witch, you're a bitch, whatever. Like, they never confirm it or deny it. So it's kind of always this kind of like ambiguous thing hanging over their heads. So that's why they're kind of like the talk of the town, because like people are keep wondering and there is no straight answer. So they're just the mystery surrounding all of this is kind of what keeps people talking and keeps the Owens family name in everybody's mouths.
Yeah.
So once Sally, kind of came out and said, "I'm a witch," it gave them something to talk about, but more in a positive way at this point.
Let's give them
Yeah,
something to talk
exactly.
about. I think
Like
Sally was done playing the game.
she took back her power, I think, at that moment, and it gave everybody something more hopeful to cling to.
Mm-hmm.
She became kind of like a leader in that moment instead of somebody who was kind of like cowering at the phone tree. Like, you know what I
It
mean?
was like almost thank goodness she's fine.
Uh-huh.
So now we can stop, not that they were like, oh, we have to like bully her because she's not being who she is, but in a sense that's how it was. And then on the opposite hand, when Jillian shows up at that phone tree, she's the first person to call herself out. Like the ladies are kind of talking, but she's like, "Yep, like that's me." She's taking her power. If she can say something first about herself,
Yes.
fuck them all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, I have heard that it could be offensive, like this coming out of the broom closet, in the LGBT circles, and it's because being queer isn't a choice. When spirituality, usually there are exceptions, usually it is, unless you're a minor, and you are in a living situation or country where your life or your livelihood are in danger. So I could see where taking that coming out of the closet to making it coming out of the broom closet, I could see where that kind of gets a little gray. But I just wanted to put that out there that we're aware. We're aware.
Yeah. So yeah, there are modern day witch hunts still going on. But in other countries more so, there are people being persecuted
Oh yeah.
for witchcraft in other countries and still being murdered because of it.
So what we're
Um,
saying is that if you are a minor, just trust your gut. If you do have a living situation that it could really F up that living situation or your livelihood, there we're going to talk about ways to practice and just being patient, because this is an ever endless path
yeah.
of learning and knowledge. So we'll talk about that in a little while.
Yeah, also I think we're going to talk a little bit later about our own personal experiences
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like how we kind of, I don't know if you want to say came out of the broom closet or just like followed our own intuition and coming into our own on our paths. So we'll get into that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But
So
right now we're going to get into a little bit about kind of themes about coming out of the broom closet in the movie and in the books, right?
yeah, let's do it.
All right.
All right, we're so some of the places it pops up, like we said in the movie, that big scene, Sally just came out. And the other line from the movie, kind of about owning who you are, is Aunt Frances said being normal is not necessarily a virtue. It rather denotes a lack of courage. And then the similar line in the book, which we covered in our second episode, I think, but the aunts also say in the book, goodness, in their opinion, was not a virtue, but merely spinelessness and fear disguised as humility.
Okay. So do we want to talk about that quote at all? Like being normal is not necessarily a virtue, it rather denotes a lack of courage.
Yeah, let's do it.
So what does she mean when she says virtue?
Like you're not going to be judged in the end.
Okay.
For being normal, there's no who is praising you for being normal? Not that they're seeking
Right.
praise, but
Like it takes a certain amount of courage to own who you are. It
mm-hmm,
does. It's a
mm-hmm,
scary thing because that means you're being vulnerable, right? You're putting yourself out there and you're kind of offering yourself up for criticism. So it's a very
exactly.
scary thing, I think, to be who you are. But you know what? I feel like other people who see you being who you are will follow suit and it'll inspire somebody else to be who they are. So, in rules of magic, be who you are, every part of you, the good and the bad, the sorrowful and the joyous. You can never run away. There is nowhere to run. That's actually one of the things that I had highlighted. So, basically, for a little context, this is at the funeral of Jet, Vincent, and Francis's parents. And also, because basically, I think during the scene, Levi's father, they're the Willards, they're the direct descendants of John Hathorne, right? They're on the Hathorne side. Yeah,
Mhm.
so we learn in magic lessons that the Owens family and the Hathorne family are kind of intertwined because of Maria and John Hathorne's relationship.
Mhm.
And this put a lot of strain on the family years and years and years and years down the line,
Mhm.
up to the point where Jet and Levi Willard, who is, the direct descendant of John Hathorne, and Jet being the direct descendant of Maria, this family kind of still is they're still at odds.
Yeah.
And the Reverend Levi's father, he
I have
would
the passage if you want me to read it. It doesn't say
it's
who
pretty
quoted
it's
that.
pretty long though, isn't it?
I was just going to do those two paragraphs.
Okay, if you want to.
It says, "They were therefore all descendants of the witch finder and a witch, and therein lay the very heart of the curse's beginnings, for they were fated to try their best to deny who they were, and to refute their true selves. The Willard side of the family was related through one of the Hathorne's granddaughters, who had married a relation of John Proctor, hung as a witch when he tried to defend the innocent women being brought to trial. We were not there. Dreadful things happened. When women were accused of being crows and messengers from hell, we were neither the judge nor the accused, but we carry these things with us and we have to fight them. The best way to do this is to be who we are, every part of you, the good and the bad, the sorrowful and the joyous. You can never run away. There is nowhere to run to. I think your mother knew that in the end, and that is why she came back here to be buried. We are who we are from the start." I'm pretty sure that's Isabel talking.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
So they are
Yes, yes.
connected through
Yes,
many, many.
it is Isabel. It says when they returned to Magnolia Street, Isabel asked Franny and Vincent to join them in the garden.
Mm,
So basically, I guess that's when she had that little chat with them and
mhm.
just like talking to them about owning who they are,
I love that.
even in the face of all the horrible stuff that their family went through in the past and is
And
still going through because Reverend Willard is still ostracizing Jetty for having that relationship with Levi. Like he makes it very clear that he does not want her with his son.
he makes it so personal. Like
I know,
Isabel's right. They're like, we weren't there. We weren't the
right?
people making those decisions. We are different people now. We are still connected, but there's no reason for this animosity anymore.
Right. Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah.
I think it's interesting how things kind of shift toward the end of Rules of Magic when I guess the Reverend kind of softens up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then by Book of Magic, like him and Jetty were, best buds up until her passing. And then Franny is still kind of holding the grudge because of how he treated her sister. So I thought
Yeah.
that was like a pretty interesting dynamic.
Dude, I just restarted the Book of Magic.
Yeah.
And there one little thing that like I pulled out was like in the Book of Magic, Alice says something about like Jetty going to the Reverend's house to basically hash things out and she wasn't gonna leave until they did. But
Yeah.
that's not how it happened. In Rules of Magic, she goes and she's just leaning against the fence, I guess, in
Okay.
Rules of Magic, and he sees her and she wants to see Levi's room and he's like, "All right,
Yes.
come on in." And then
Yes.
everything changes from there. But I know. Alice didn't use an outline for a lot of this. I know.
We forgive you, Alex.
Yeah, still a beautifully rereading Rules of Magic is
Yeah,
so sad.
I
It's
know.
it's sadder than all the rest of the books. I
It
don't
is.
know if it's just because like seeing the aunts in the practical magic movie world, like they had so much loss. Like I'm thinking of Franny and Halen, and
Uh-huh.
just putting like my husband in, like if I found out like my husband had cancer and like we're just sitting on the porch and then he's gone, I'm like,
I
what?
know it's gut wrenching.
Yeah,
I
it
hate
is,
even
it is.
thinking about that.
So go read Rules of Magic.
Yeah, go
But
read
we
Rules of
have,
Magic if you want to cry. Just bring your box of tissues.
yeah, so we have some more quotes. Do you want to take them away? Mr. Grant is Vincent's boyfriend's dad, but I don't remember the boyfriend's name.
Vincent's boyfriend's dad. All right, so Mr. Grant says, "We must fight against bigotry in all its forms, for it is prejudice that ruins a society." And that is on page 245. I
Beautiful.
don't remember the context of this, though. Do you?
Just the guys owning who they are, because I think Mr. Grant is also homosexual, and
Okay,
he regrets not being who he was earlier on.
got it. Okay. The next quote from the book is, "The first clear thought that he, meaning Vincent, had was a memory of an interview he had read with Jim Morrison, a singer and a poet he had admired for his rebellion. Expose yourself to your deepest fear. After that, fear has no power, and the fear of freedom shrinks and vanishes. You are free." And that is on
Ooh,
page 286. And that was a Jim Morrison quote.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah, that's deep. So deep.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on page 340. It says, "It was the one about a rabbit who had once been a witch. They knew that a witch must never deny who she is, and that no matter what happens, it's always best to be true to oneself." And I'm thinking that's about Maggie. Is that referring to Maggie, how she denied who she was, and then eventually she turned herself into a rabbit, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think the character Halen, who is Franny's lover, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
becomes a doctor in their town, and all the kids love him to bits, and he always tells the story of Maggie the rabbit to them.
It's so cute.
Hmm.
I'm still convinced that they chopped her leg off and made her into a rabbit's foot.
Don't they try to set her free, and then they're like, "Oh, she's just gonna end up in somebody else's yard." I
Probably.
think they try to set her
Oh,
free.
was that in that? I think that was in Magic Lessons, right? Because when Faith goes to that like lady's house, they were like, she was like trying to help her get all the rabbits into the next yard. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Again,
Which
yeah,
one did I
see?
just? I think it's Rules of Magic. I don't know. We gotta read them again.
I
Oh
know.
my god.
It's nuts. There's so much.
So
But there's
let's.
so many little Easter eggs though. That's why it's like so fun to talk
Mhm.
about because there's just so much.
We have magic lessons next. And when I was taking these notes, girl, Hannah Owens, like she's all about know who you are.
Hmm.
Everything she says is know who you are. But the first
Well, well, before we go into it, let's just talk about her death
go ahead.
because she died basically standing her ground about who she was, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Like when they like set her like garden ablaze, they set her house ablaze, whatever. She wasn't going anywhere. She was standing her ground. She died knowing who she was.
Yeah, and I don't think she wanted her daughter to live with her death in vain. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
To add to your thought real quick, um her leaving the earth that way and believing and following the path that she did, like her heart is at peace
Mm-hmm.
because she was always 100% true to herself
Right.
and setting that example for Maria, who, everybody makes their own choices, their own mistakes, but as far as Hannah being a good mother and giving that example, priceless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So one of our first excerpts from Magic Lessons comes on page 13. And it says, "They sat in the light of a lantern and drank cups of courage tea, a blend of currants, spices, and thyme, made for protection and healing, a mixture that needed to steep for a long time. It was an elixir that made it clear one should never hide who one was. This was the first step towards courage." Is courage tea and caution tea? Don't we find out that they're the same thing?
Are they the same thing? I don't know if they're the same thing. I think Isabel pulls a fast one on
Oh,
Jetty.
Jet, you're right.
You
Okay.
remember that?
Yes.
When she asks which one Jet wanted, and Jet says, doesn't she say caution?
She does say caution, but she lies to Franny.
Right.
And she
Yeah.
said she took courage. And then she's like, "I'm sorry, Isabel, I lied." She's like, "Nah, I gave you courage."
She's like, you had it all along, or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good old Isabel, always pulling the fast one.
I
Um,
wonder who, because you know how they had the casting going for Rules of Magic. I wonder who that would be. I wonder
mm,
Who would be a good Isabel?
I'll
Like
have to
Helen
think about
Mirren?
that. Oh, yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Might
Maybe.
bite. Just
Or
get stalker.
Ellen Burstyn.
I don't know who that is.
Do you remember the mother in Requiem for a Dream? The one watching all the
Holy
TV,
shit, that's a throwback movie. I'll
right?
have to look her up.
I love that soundtrack.
So on page 243, Alice writes, never hide who you are inside. She, I'm thinking Maria, she had always been told, and all that she was had been hidden, even from herself. And then we have another, this is not a quote, it's just from Alice. She says, her true mother, the mother she had lost, talking about Hannah, right? The one who had told her to always be true to herself, even if she had to hide the truth from others. That's interesting. So be true to yourself, even if she had to be secretive and hide that truth from others. Is that
That's a little bit of an oxymoron, is it not?
right?
Because like, how are you being true to yourself if you're still doing stuff in secret? If you're hiding truth from others, you're still being secretive about something. So
maybe we can take it in the context of like the time period, because her livelihood would have been in danger.
right. And also, I guess kind of using that type of intuition, like even today, like I feel like we all kind of know like who we can be ourselves around. You know, there are certain people who maybe they might not necessarily judge us, but we have that fear about what they might see us as if we, you know, be our actual true selves around them. So there's always that fear of judgment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you want to be true to yourself, there's always that fear of judgment with certain
I
people,
agree.
I think.
Yeah, it's all discernment when to keep your mouth closed, because it's just easier. They might ask questions, but they might be the wrong questions. They're as much as you try to educate them,
Yeah.
they'll always have that.
It's kind of like that thing, like let bygones be bygones. Like, you know when to pick your battles, choose your battles, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
certain people are gonna just be very set in their ways and they might not be open to understanding your point of view and your way of life.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to agree to disagree, basically.
One of the like satanic principles, which I really like get behind, is like give your energies to those who deserve it. You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
turn the other cheek kind of stuff.
Right.
No, like if you're not appreciative and you're not willing to listen or give your energy in return, then you're
Yeah.
not worth my time.
Totally, 100%.
I'm like, am I a Satanist?
I know.
Okay, let's scoot over to page 272. Did I skip one? No, we're good.
Nope, you're good.
So in the towards the end of the story, right, Maria kind of loses her sight. So though her sight was gone, her courage was not. She thought of the tea her mother had often. Oh wait, or is this talking about faith? I probably should have.
Maybe it is faith.
I think it's faith because she started following like the left-hand path kind of stuff.
That's right. Yep.
So it took the sight from her. Okay. Though her sight was gone, her courage was not. She thought of the tea her mother often made for her. Never hide who you are. Do what you think you cannot. Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. And then lastly on page 353, never deny who you are. Hannah Owens had told her, no matter the price.
Wow, that's a lot
did.
for magic lessons. Yeah. I didn't remember this much about like owning who you are. I don't remember that much about that whole theme.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I read magic lessons like a month ago. I'm already forgetting details.
That's all right. That's why we work together in tandem.
Yeah.
Rage Cage.
I did have some stuff to add to Rules of Magic. I should have said it before when we were still on that topic. Do you remember in the book when Franny and Halen are at the Leech Lake and she thinks Halen is drowning and she doesn't jump in after him because she knows that, if he saw her, if she saved him and he saw her, I guess, floating or whatever, then he would know she was a witch. So she would have rather had let Halen die than just like let him see who she really was.
Yeah, that's rough.
I thought that was like kind of fucked up.
That is rough.
And then like he came up to the surface and he was like, "Were you just gonna let me drown, Franny? Like what the fuck?"
Dude, and in not contrast, but like in that vein, Durant, that character Agnes Durant, tells a story about Susanna, and Susanna is the mother of Vincent, Franny, and Jet. And
Hmm.
Susanna talks about like the love she lost and she was in France and whatever. And Agnes Straw kind of says, no, there was a boating accident and the guy went overboard and Susanna jumped in after him, but she couldn't get him. So Susanna had a little more like gumption, balls
Right.
than Franny did to
Yeah.
try, even if you're going to fail.
Right.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah. I don't remember that whole I vaguely remember that bit, but about Susanna. I feel like Susanna's just like kind of like a flash in the pan. Like she's not really like a central focus.
Right. They do
And
reference her in magic lessons though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, magic lessons, the
Or
book?
excuse me, Book of Magic.
Oh, the Book of Magic.
Yeah. Sally
Um,
is like Sally likes Susanna because of all her rules. She thought Susanna
right.
was on to something.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more about Susanna,
Mm-hmm.
and her
Mm-hmm.
whole backstory in Paris. That would also make a really cool
Oh
book, I
my
think.
God, that would be
Right?
so cool. Yeah.
There's so many other characters. Alice, please give us these books.
We want that Owens family.
We want the whole family tree story. All right, so this is magic lessons. Oh wait, no, we did that already. Book of
Yeah.
Magic, right? This quote is a person could do her best to be ordinary and fit in, but the past could not be refuted, even when it was hidden from children thought to be too tender to know the truth. You didn't choose magic, it chose you. It bloomed inside you, blood and bone.
This comes in at page 5, actually, and it's
Really
just
early on.
Alice explaining that their family connection with witchery and that they're bloodline witches and for those who tried to escape their heritage, it soon became clear that they could not run away from who they were. And then the
Hmm.
quote you just read.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's really it's kind of heart-wrenching that Sally, didn't want them to know who they really were their whole entire lives up until, they're pretty much almost adults at this point, and just finding this out now, like that's a pretty big thing to keep from your daughters.
Yeah, I agree.
That's unfortunate. And yeah, going back to Sally being like really up Susanna's ass as far as like kind of trying to emulate her the way she raised her kids,
Mm-hmm.
and then like look what it did to Francis, Jet, and Vincent.
Yeah. We
Like
even see a little bit of that in the Practical Magic movie with her, there will never be any magic in this. Or you won't, what does she say to the aunts when she moves back in?
basically, yeah, what you just said, there will never be any magic in this house or something of the sort.
Yeah, my daughters
My
will
my
never
girls
do
will never,
magic
yeah,
ever.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Very sad.
and we're going to talk about that. I mean, Jesus Christ. So, yeah, we'll talk about her character arc, but you have one more little bit there.
Yeah, so this is also from Book of Magic, and it says you can live a little, or I think it's love, right? You can love a little or you can love a lot. Is it love or is
They
it
say
live?
both. I think Vincent's the one who's always say live a lot. He always says live a lot. And dude, I have taken that in. I'm like, am I gonna live a little, or am I gonna fucking live a lot? Yeah.
All right, man, that was a doozy. Whew.
Ooh. All right, let's talk
Ooh.
about Sally real
All
quick.
right. All right. So coming out now versus coming out in Sally's world. So what do you mean coming out now versus coming out in Sally's world? Like the world like of the 90s, or like what, the world of like the fictional world? Like what do you mean by that bullet point?
So yeah, coming out now in 2022,
Got
all
it.
these
All
young
right.
kids coming out versus coming out in Sally's world where there's no internet. I mean, maybe it was a blip in, Steve Jobs' minds, but
I'm pretty sure internet was around in 1998,
yeah.
95. Was it 95, 96? I remember the internet probably around like 90, 95, right?
Yeah. But being as closed off as the Owens already were, and just kind of having the people in their circle that they did and their routines, I don't think there was that pressure as there is now to come out. I think they would have been perfectly happy living their lives if not for fucking Jillian falling in with Jimmy and her having. I don't know if Sally would have come out if not for that catalyst of having to save her sister.
You're probably
Um,
right. Absolutely.
and now I think there is a pressure for younger kids to come out.
I don't know if it would even be considered coming out right anymore at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because of witch talk and what you have here, the witch talk aesthetic. It just makes it so easy. It makes it more of like an alluring thing as as opposed to like a more a taboo thing as which it used to be in like well when I was in school. So I
Too, with
feel like
like the
witch talk made it very easy for kids to go down their
access.
path and kind of explore their own magical path.
Yeah, and I think now having parents who were kids in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
see and are a little more open and knowledgeable
Mm-hmm.
about what witchcraft really is and what it focuses on. But it sounds like, leaning on forums, I guess, back in the 90s and leaning on just kind of word of mouth. Now it's
Yeah.
so much easier for young kids, hopefully they're doing it safely, to find that witchy community. Instagram, TikTok,
Yeah.
Facebook, like it's right at their fingertips.
Right.
So I just encourage people to do your research, be careful.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a not a story, but like kind of like my own personal experience. I
Oh,
remember
what?
when I was a teenager and I would go to a bookstore or I would go to the public library. I haven't been to a public library probably since middle school, but I just remember like when I would go do my research and search for magical books, I would, first of all, the magical section in a bookstore or the library was always, way upstairs in the back corner, like away from everything else, like very obscure, very low key, like not a lot of people up there. And I always kind of like have the aisle to myself and
Yeah.
I could just like spread out, sit on the floor, read my books, and do my research. And I always just felt like I had to hide
Mhm.
because it was so like
Taboo.
nobody really wanted to talk about it. It was very taboo.
Mhm.
Even up until like a few years ago. Like I remember going to Barnes and Nobles even a few years ago at this point, and it's still being a very obscure, shoved up in the back corner of the bookstore type deal.
It's right next to the Bibles.
It used to be. Well, okay, so here's what happened to me. So I guess after the whole witch talk explosion, I went into my local Barnes and Noble
Mhm.
and I went upstairs looking for my section and it was gone. I was like, what the
What
fuck?
happened?
I was like, what? So I went to ask a store, somebody who worked there, and they're like, oh, it's downstairs by the cafe.
Right
This
up front.
right up front. And next to it was like a table full of tarot decks, and there was a sign above it that said hashtag witch talk. And I was
Mhm.
like, what?
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere now. It's the cool thing.
That's what it is now. It's just become the cool thing. And like, I don't want to gatekeep, right? I want people to be able to find their path
Sure.
and I want people to
Sure.
explore. I just don't want it to be a trend. You know what I mean?
But that
Like,
thing is people fall off trends all the time.
I know.
And
I know. I just thought it was like a little not off-putting, but it kind of caught me off balance a little bit. I was like, what? For the longest time, I felt like I had to hide up in the dark corner of a bookstore upstairs, up in the West Wing. Like
the
nobody
West
ventured up there.
Wing.
And now
Nobody
it's like
goes to the
friggin'
West
now it's in
Wing.
the middle of the friggin' floor on the
Yeah.
downstairs, like right by the cafe where there's a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
And there's so many people just in that aisle now. And I feel like I used to have this aisle all to myself.
It's funny.
So
Yep.
that's just like, it's there's not as much pressure. I don't think there's as much pressure to come out now because
It's just out.
it's just become a mainstream sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um and I guess that's a good thing, like if it's introducing new people to a path that they might not have otherwise stumbled upon.
Truthfully, like when I was doing the women's circle for and the priestess training, they would have the Sabbath meetups. It was really rare to have like a youngster, a quote
Uh,
unquote youngster come in. But when they did,
were you the youngster?
for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, for a long time. And I was mid 20s, 25, 6, 7. It was over 18. If anybody did come in, we were like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, we were so excited for them and just to have that like women's support. But now like everything is so accessible online and you don't really need to have, I don't know if younger people know how important and how special it is to have that synergy and that connection with women. Men and women up close, but just having a women's circle was really cool. We're
Yeah.
not gatekeeping as far as male witches, warlocks, whatever you want to call yourself.
Right.
I'm just speaking from my
Right, right.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the Craft Legacy movie?
No. How was it?
Didn't?
No.
Well, I thought it was horrible, but I could just be partial to the original just because that's what I grew up with, and
Mm-hmm.
that was my kind of nostalgia growing up. And I feel like that's the case with like a lot of these remakes or
Why
revamps.
remake them?
I know, but Fairuza was attached. Fairuza Balk was in it.
She was in
But,
it?
yeah, and I'm really surprised that she signed on to that garbage.
That's really
I just
wild.
I thought it was just like it was really bad. The Craft Legacy was a different storyline.
Mm.
um I don't want to give any spoilers out to anybody who's planning on watching it, but basically Fairuza Balk, she reprised her role as Nancy.
Mm-hmm. I
She
need
was
to
an
look into it.
not an ancestor, but she's a relative of one of the newer girls, the younger girls that is in it now.
Okay.
And I just thought it was very like a lot of the magic that they did in the movie felt very reminiscent of Witch Talk and like Pinterest, and
Okay.
like the whole like they did like a glitter bomb, bath bomb. Like they did like a bath magic with like glitter, like a milk bath, and I was like, "Oh, I've seen that on Pinterest. I've seen that on Witch Talk." It was just very catered to the new generation, like you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel as dark and because like I feel like that's what the craft was. It kind of explored that darker side of
Mm-hmm.
magic within, I guess, high school or middle school at that time when I was a
Mm-hmm.
teenager. And that's kind of what appealed to it to me. That's kind of like what drew me to it, was that kind of like dark aspect of it. I
Mm-hmm.
guess when you're younger, I guess you're just naturally drawn to the darker stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Is your
know.
Pluto in Scorpio by chance?
I don't know. I gotta look at my chart, but
Yeah. Do we want to talk about like what how we see Sally at the beginning, and maybe like what her upbringing was like? So this is all speculation, and you
yeah.
can pull from what is Alice says in the books or not. It's up to you. But my question was like what we thought Sally and Jillian's upbringing was like before they moved to Magnolia Street, before their parents passed away. Like, do we think that Regina, her mother, taught them and was open with them about witchcraft?
I'm not sure. Like I said, and we briefly touched on this in one of the previous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about like what how we see Sally at the beginning, and maybe like what her upbringing was like? So this is all speculation, and you
Yeah.
can pull from what is Alice says in the books or not. It's up to you. But my question was like what we thought Sally and Jillian's upbringing was like before they moved to Magnolia Street, before their parents passed away. Like, do we think that Regina, her mother, taught them and was open with them about witchcraft?
I'm not sure. Like I said, and we briefly touched on this in one of the previous episodes where I think it was the Sally analysis when I basically said that I thought Regina's mother and father were kind of like these like globetrotters, globetrotters. Like I feel like they traveled a lot, and I feel like the girls were left with the grandmother a lot,
Oh,
April.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
Um, so I don't know how much time was spent between Regina and the girls like doing magic.
Hmm.
Like I don't really know if they were exposed to that a lot. I don't think they really came into their craft until they lived with the aunts, because remember when they arrived on Magnolia Street and they saw Jet saw Sally have that connection with the bird, and she
Hmm.
was like there's something special about her.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of when they like really worked with Sally to hone her craft.
Yeah. I agree.
Um, so I don't really think that they were exposed to much magic before they came to live with the aunts. I really don't.
They just knew, especially like Jillian just watching her sister, like as a younger sibling, like you just
Mhm.
watch everybody and everything. So she's like,
Yep.
oh, like it might have just been second nature to her that her sister has this, can call
Yeah.
the birds to her without
Yep.
even whistling, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and I agree. I think when they got to Magnolia Street was when the aunts were like, "Oh, this is a student teacher kind of situation." But I wrote down Wednesday Adams braids. What? Like both sisters had the braids thing going on. I thought it was adorable.
Have you been watching that new Netflix show?
I have not. I want
Oh, it's
to.
cute.
I'm waiting for Aaron and I to be able to sit down and watch it together.
It's adorable. We just finished it last night. I love it.
Okay, it's a whole
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
like what, 7, 8 episodes, something like that.
Okay, I
It's a
will
short
watch.
watch, but it's very cute. I hope there's a second season. I'm digging it.
But to like pounce off of what you were saying about the aunts, like they're so supportive, and that like then this is like the incline. This is like the
Mhm.
incline of Sally. You know, having that support system. Like this would be like if you had two mothers, two moms, and then you came out as gay as a daughter, like it would be like no big deal,
Right.
it's they're probably the best people to talk to. But Sally's like an eager learner and she's a quick study, you see it from her blowing the candle on.
Yeah.
And she gets excited, when she has that, she's excited about magic and her, her talent, which is really cool. We do kind of see Jillian though being like, what about mine? What
Yeah.
about me? And she is a little younger, and then Franny basically saying, oh no, don't you worry. Like,
It's like they know Jillian. They know what's coming up for her.
she's, yep,
They know she's gonna be a little seductress,
that's right. That's right.
right?
And I'm wondering if that thing, if Michael's death did not happen, if Kylie and Antonia would have been brought up the same way, being
Oh, good point.
like that.
Yeah. So you think Michael was the catalyst for, or Michael's death was the catalyst for Sally kind of shutting out her magic?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is before we even get to the apex and the decline. Like my question is like, was she still practicing? Like, would
Right.
Michael have known?
Right. He's got to have known.
He's
If you
gotta have
live in that
known.
if you live in that town and there's all that talk about the Owens family, you can't fall
Right.
in love and marry an Owens woman and not kind of know like the scope of things.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And that boy was taking his life. Oh no, well, he didn't have a choice. That's the other thing. He didn't have a choice, but he took his life into his own hands. He knows that the husbands die. Yeah. So then his passing, exactly like what you said, like started that decline of her not trusting her magic. Her trust is fucking broken by magic. Like technically not once but twice. But just like we said, losing that Virgo mindset of having control, and like the mind fuck of like, was that the love of my life or just a spell? I had two children with this man. She
Yeah.
says, oh, don't tell me that my own flesh and blood was
Oh
because of
yeah.
a spell.
Sure, the sense of betrayal by her own family was, what really set her off the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's probably just done with it at that point. Like she's like, fuck this family, fuck this, fuck magic, fuck being a witch. I don't want to own it because all it's done up to this point is just hurt me and break my heart. So
Exactly.
why bother with magic?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I was saying, like technically both of her loves were because of a spell.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
does
but
she,
but Gary is her own spell.
it is her own spell. And it's like the true love spell. I'm wondering if adult Sally would have asked for the same things in a man as little Sally did. They're not really as important.
Like the eye color and the
Like
pancakes and
pancakes.
the song, the
Yeah.
whistling tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's just a
Definitely not.
closeted alcoholic that has a gambling problem. Leave all that shit out.
But you know what? Maybe it was like just the nostalgia in and of itself of the spell that she made when she was a little girl that just like holds a place in her heart. And whether or not that's all the stuff that she would want in a man today or as an adult, Sally,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't think that holds any bearing. I think she just saw this nostalgic spell she did when she was a child and it endeared her that she actually found this man that all of this stuff seemed to line up with.
Yeah.
So for that at that point, for her to see her own spell at work and that she does still have this kind of magical thing about her that she can make something like this happen, or she manifested this man, like now, okay, magic ain't looking so bad anymore. You
Really? It only took 20 years for it
Right.
to, it was the long con.
The long con, exactly. Exactly.
You're absolutely right. I think you're right. But who says it? Franny says you can't practice witchcraft while you look down your nose at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I listed that here, just denying who you are for a long time is no bueno. It's just like pushing grief down, like we talked about in the Sally episode.
Yeah.
It's no good for anybody. But I wanted to say, when what she's referring to is when they try to bring Jimmy back from the grave and then Jillian gets possessed. I said Jimmy, right? The first time?
When
Bring Jimmy
Jimmy
back from the grave
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Jillian gets possessed. Okay. I wanted to say, like, the first time she tries to save Jillian out of this scenario, she goes to the book because I think that's what she's been taught. She goes to the Book of Shadows. They try to do a spell, just because that's how they were brought up. The
Yeah.
second time she goes to save Sally, she goes with her gut. and she uses her
Or
own
goes to
internal
save
magic.
Jilly, right? Goes to save
What did
Jilly.
I say?
You said Sally.
When Sally goes to save Jillian,
Yeah.
second time in the circle, she uses her gut and intuition and empowerment to save her, which I think is
Right.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Woo!
I know.
Sally, Jilly,
This
Jimmy.
this episode is a doozy.
It's a
I'm telling you,
doozy.
it's a doozy.
It's all right. We're getting better.
Let's see
Did I
what's next.
write that? Why was it important for Sally to come out? We kind of touched on just her owning that power and allowing others to see her that way.
Well, there's another reason why it was important for Sally to come out.
Tell me.
That all comes down to the girls at the verbena shop, Carla and Linda. We remember them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I kind of went off on this whole tangent and this whole rabbit hole, and I watched this scene over and over again, and I picked the shit out of it. I just wanted to go down this little I wanted to go splunking a little bit. So I noticed some things that maybe you wouldn't notice right off the bat, or maybe, wouldn't look this deeply into it, but it is Sagittarius season, so we're going down that rabbit hole. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with Carla. She's played by Chloe Webb. And well, first of all, how many of us think that Carla and Linda, the girls at the verbena apothecary shop who worked for Sally, how many of us think that they were closeted witches this entire time?
100%. I mean,
100%, right?
Carla's the blonde one, right?
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, she looks way more witchy than Sally
Right?
does.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so here's my whole spiel, okay? So let's start with Carla, all right? So in the scene when Gary comes to town and is questioning all the townspeople, he stops in Sally's shop and he's talking to Carla. And he's asking her questions about the Owens family and the mysterious circumstances surrounding the rumors of witchcraft, the disappearance of Jimmy, blah, blah, blah. All right. So Carla, if you're listening to the conversations she's having with Gary, she explains to him as if she's done like extensive research. Okay.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Like,
So
she
she
knows.
she appears to be very knowledgeable about topics of witchcraft. She says to Gary, witch? Yeah. Evil? No. I mean, you get your psychos now and then, animal slaughter, ritual, human disembowelment, but that's really pretty rare. See, it's a pagan label, but Sally, and then Sally walks in, so she stops talking.
Yeah.
But she goes, she's definitely not into that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, how does she friggin' know all this stuff if she ain't a witch?
And
right?
what I had always thought she said was, it's a pagan label. And I always thought she said, it's Sal. Like she is who she is. There's no label for what her family does with this magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's none of the stuff you're hearing. It's Sally. Right. I always thought that's what she said, but maybe I'm mishearing it.
Okay. I just got from that scene that she knows a lot more than we're led to believe, that she's not just a worker in Sally's shop, okay? She's
ritual,
like,
exactly.
Animal
slaughter, ritual, human disembowelment.
She knows way too much. So,
she does,
all right.
You're right.
So then also during Sally's coming out scene, when she's activating the phone tree, Carla was the only one that seems visibly the most excited. Like, she's talking on the phone and she goes, I got the best news. Sally just came out. And Linda, the other shop girl, is on the line eating like a bonbon or a chocolate or something.
Yeah.
And Linda goes, she's on the other end of the phone and she just goes, what a fabulous affirmation.
Yeah.
Right? But like,
that's it.
I wonder why though. Why are these two girls the only girls excited about Sally's coming out? Because when we skip to the next girl on the phone tree, that Sarah girl, that bitch that Sally's been fighting with her whole childhood, she's like rolling her eyes. She's like, I don't know, like her boyfriend, like, is harassing her or something like that. Like, she seems very annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Whereas like Linda and Carla are visibly very excited about that this shit is going down right now.
Here's the thing that I was getting out of it. Like, it's definitely like a phone tree situation where every message, every person getting the message,
it's a little different.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
So they're just paraphrasing.
I just thought it was like a funny dynamic between the shop girls, the girls who really have Sally's back.
Yes.
And then like the phone tree girls who like obviously like have shit to say about the Owens family all the time. And like as soon as like Jilly walks in the room at the phone tree, like the eyes start rolling. Like, you know what, like the phone tree girls just seem very annoyed at the mere presence of an Owens woman. But then
I
these
really
shop
need you
girls
to
were
listen to that
ah,
villains
all
thing.
right.
It's so fucking funny.
I'm
We'll
gonna
talk about
listen
it on the
to
next
it
episode.
and we're gonna talk about it
Yeah.
for sure. So then let's see where did I go. Okay, so yeah, so they're visibly excited about it on the phone when the whole phone tree's activated. So what does this mean for Carla? So well, first of all, Sally and the entire Owens family have been on this they've been this sort of martyr who draw all of the focus of the townspeople away from anyone else in the town who might be quote unquote different. They've been the target of all the ridicule and rejection for so long that it just becomes the norm for them at this point. Not so much Sally, but the aunts have accepted their place and role in the town as the weirdos. So maybe someone like Carla, who is also a unique spirit, very visibly so, um, she's another unique spirit kind of residing in this conservative town. And I think maybe she found comfort in kind of hiding in Sally's shadow, or maybe she saw Sally as somewhat of a mentor or guidance figure while she was, or Carla, while she was also navigating through her own internal struggle with kind of being different in this conservative town. Did you have something
Exactly.
to add to that little
Yeah, I
spiel?
just written that she could fly like under the radar and possibly find it easier because of the attention, like exactly what you said, always on the Owens family.
Yeah.
But even so, I how could a family of all women in that big beautiful house with like the rumor of witchcraft and dead husbands go unnoticed? Like even if that island had wasn't named after Maria,
Yeah.
maybe even if there weren't rumors of witchcraft, but like just like the family of women in a big old house and their husbands keep dying,
Right.
that's going to draw the attention of the
Of
townspeople.
course.
So,
Of
so
course. Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely see that. I just thought it was like funny that Carla, she's just so she's which we just said before, like she's visibly so much more witchy than Sally is.
mhm.
But for some reason, she kind of like she works
Takes
for
a back
Sally,
seat.
she's in Sally's shop, she's taken a back seat. She's obviously very knowledgeable about all this witchcraft stuff as we saw in her conversation with Gary, kind of like on the side. So I'm thinking like she knows a lot. She's seen a lot. She's experienced a lot. She's practicing her craft. She's using this job as a shield or a cover up that she's also a witch. And I think the same with Linda as well.
Dude, did I tell you I got a I got a job at Bath and Body Works
When?
just because no, like ages ago.
Oh, oh,
I had a job at Bath and Body Works
all right.
because of this movie
Okay.
and not recommended. The discount's great, but I'm like, I just wanted to work at a Bath and Body shop.
Right, right.
Wasn't awesome, but
No, I'm sure it
just
wasn't.
because of
Retail
this movie.
sucks. Retail sucks.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Carla's appearance, her physical appearance, okay? She's got bleach blonde crimped hair. She uses like porcupine quills as hairpins. She wears choker necklaces, chunky silver wrist cuffs, and she wears black all the time. Is that not a witch? Anyway, stereotypically anyway, like that's, what we usually see witchy people, they're more likely to express themselves in their clothing and their hairstyles and their jewelry especially. So in one scene, Carla is wearing a crystal point pendant on a long chain. Not to mention, she has no problem manhandling that tarantula prior
Right?
to the room circle scene at the end. Did you
Yeah.
see her manhandling that shit? Ugh.
Yeah.
But her entire aesthetic is probably even more edgy or reminiscent of your typical witchy style than Sally, who puts off more of like an earthy vibe. Yet there's all this like talk and hullabaloo about Sally the witch, Sally
I
that.
know. You
But
know
like
why?
nobody's looking at Carla.
You know what? It's because Sally has pretty privilege.
Yeah, you're right.
Sally's got pretty privilege. But I wanted to say that I think Carla and Jillian would have a good time together.
Oh my god, I want to party with them so
I know. Sally would be so jealous. Jillian has her ride or die bitch, and I
uh-huh.
think Carla and Jillian would have a better time.
You're probably right. But Carla is a ride or die bitch. Like even when the
She,
sheriff even when the sheriff came to town, like
the sheriff.
she was very quick to put away all those rumors. Carla is very clearly expressing herself with her physical appearance, but she stops herself. If you notice, she stops herself before she catches her saying the word witch when explaining why Sally never gets picked for the phone tree because everyone knows she's different. right? That's what she says
Different.
in the scene. Now this could have been because she didn't want to offend Jillian, who was like she was talking to at the time, and Jillian's, Sally's sister. And if Sally's a witch, then Jillian's a witch, so she probably didn't want to throw that word in there and, offend anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
And
maybe it's also because she shudders to say the word out loud because of shame.
oh,
Because like for a long time, like if you're in that conservative town, you don't even want to be caught calling yourself a witch or even using the word
exactly.
witch, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think so? That makes me think of like, you know how people talk. People talk the talk, but
Uh-huh.
if Carla is cool with calling herself a witch, do you think they're like, oh, she's just trying to rope herself in with those Owenses? You know what I mean? Like for attention?
I
Like
don't
my mind
know.
would go to there. People are so petty. People are so
Right.
petty. Yeah, and I had always taken her not saying the word witch as she didn't want to out Sally,
Right. Right.
like any identity, even though the rest of the townspeople just throw the word around. Like Carla seems to know Sally on like a more personal level and
She's more
respect her.
sensitive. She's more sensitive to the term and what
Mm-hmm.
what kind of weight that it carries, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, right?
She knows when to keep a mouth shut.
Exactly. Especially because she's
Snitches
talking to her
get
sister.
stitches. I thought she was talking to Gary.
No, at this point when she goes, because Sally leaves to go to the phone tree, and Jillian's like, "Where is she
Oh
going?" She's like
yeah.
putting on the lotion, and then Linda goes phone tree day. Oh no,
Yeah,
no, or
right. I
Carla
thought she
said
was
phone
talking to
tree.
Gary.
Yeah, or or
Yeah.
or Carla goes phone tree day. And then
Maybe
she's like,
Carla feels like she is closer to Sally than
Jillian.
Linda.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But I think when you were like she didn't want to offend Jillian, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think she either didn't want to offend Jillian, or in my personal experience, like saying the word witch or using or referring to myself as a witch to other people who might not be too familiar with what the term actually is, might be like, "Oh, you're a witch." Like, what is that? What does that mean? Like, you know, there is a certain amount of shame that still comes with that word, I feel
Yeah.
like, and I still feel like I have to be careful using it around
Oh
certain
yeah.
people. And I like Jillian obviously is a witch, so Carla shouldn't feel like a shame using that word around Jillian, but I think she wasn't holding back because of maybe shame. Maybe she was just holding back because she didn't want to offend. But I could see it from both sides of the spectrum. Like for me, from my personal experience, kind of holding back from using the term because of the negative connotations that still come with the term.
Yeah.
But if Carla also wasn't owning who she was, then maybe just using that term can make her feel uncomfortable because she was also being conditioned by society in that conservative town to associate that word with something negative. And if Sally wasn't owning who she was, then why would Carla? I feel like Carla was kind of like waiting for the shoe to drop. She was kind of waiting for Sally to own who she was, so then she could in turn own who she was. This brings me back to why Carla was so excited when Sally finally came out. And more importantly, why was it important for Sally to come out? So the answer here is simple. So Sally has just opened the door for every single cunning folk, as Alice calls them in was it magic lessons? Cunning folk. So Sally opens up the door for every single cunning folk up in that town. And by doing so, Sally made it okay to own calling herself a witch, and declaring it gave her back her power, as we were talking about before. And now Carla, as a result of Sally, owning her own power, now Carla can finally do the same and not feel like she has to hide it either. So I think her excitement is also synonymous with the relief that she now feels that she now has the permission to follow suit after Sally. And I feel like Sally unknowingly became a role model, mentor, and leader for all the girls on that island who felt out of place because of natural gifts, whether they're part of the phone tree, whether they weren't. As we saw when they met for the phone tree, there were some women who were expressing their gifts when the aunts were like, "There's a little witch in every woman." Like,
Yeah.
they're kind of just reiterating that we all have something special about
Yeah.
us, whether you call yourself a witch or not, and whether you want to own those gifts or not. We all have that kind of intuitive, um, I guess, motherly, maternal instinct and ability.
Well, we're all synced up, man. We are
Right,
all
me and you are
connected.
synced up this month.
I know, but as and this is not to negate the power of the masculine because I fully believe in and the power of the masculine. But like
Right.
you as a
Balance.
woman share, so your eggs as a baby are linked with, in the womb, your mother's eggs that are linked with her grandmother. Like there are three generations of the genetics. Like
Right.
how can you explain not having some kind of connection
Right.
with mother nature, with each other?
I know what you're getting at. I've heard of that study before, and I also think that they said that there was that the trauma that your grandmother was experiencing, that trauma is passed on through the womb. So
Exactly.
even though you didn't live through, maybe you didn't live, maybe your grandmother is still with you, but maybe you never met your grandmother, but even if you weren't on the earth as the same at the same time as your grandmother, you still somehow you you still have her trauma and all the stuff that she experienced when
Yeah,
she was on the earth.
exactly.
So that's the generational trauma, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call
Yeah.
it.
So go
Um,
listen to that popcorn psychology episode about practical magic. It's all about
oh,
generational trauma.
that's a great episode.
It's
We
so
need to
good.
talk about it.
So my thought about Carla real quick is that she, she's just being that super supportive friend. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if she had her own self-interest in mind. Like truly, I think that you're right about Sally being a role model in the town. Just because they have that like historical presence. The island is named after their ancestor, and she also has pretty privilege.
Yeah.
But never denying that inner light, I think, is what Carla is all about. Because Carla seems to be a little more okay with exhibiting her big capital D differences, her
Right,
different
right, right.
side.
Yeah.
But I also kind of have a little feeling that Carla might not even be from that island originally.
I think you're probably right.
I think because she doesn't seem to have grown up maybe with that same competitiveness as like Sarah and the other phone tree ladies
Right,
do.
right.
Um, so that was just my thought.
Yeah. I think I have a little section at the bottom here which kind of speculates, like I wanted to do a little speculating about how we actually thought the girls met that
Oh,
work in the
okay.
verbena
Let's do it.
shop.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, let's talk about Linda real quick because she also kind of plays a whole little part in this I guess the coming out of the
Triad.
yeah, yeah. So Linda, the other girl in the shop, who's played by Margot Martindale, she is, I think she was also a closeted witch. Her physical appearance was not as visually forward as Carla's. However, if you notice when the phone tree convenes in the aunt's kitchen prior to the broom circle scene, we see Carla and Linda over the kitchen island, and they're the only ones that are interacting with any of the witchy items on the table. Did you ever notice that?
I noticed Carla shake like with the tarantula in the jar,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
didn't notice the thing you have about Linda.
So, yes, so while Carla's playing with the tarantula, Linda can be seen playing with a pendulum. Did you ever notice she has a pendulum in
I
that scene?
didn't. Mm-mm.
She's got a pendulum, and when the camera pans out, Linda can be seen dangling the pendulum over Carla's palm, which is faced upward,
Wow.
as if they were used to playing around with each other's energy. Like
Wow.
they knew what they were doing with these magical tools. So this was not Carla or Linda's first rodeo. And not to mention Linda's admission about, remember when she was like, she could hear her daughter crying all the way across town when she
Mm-hmm.
says that to the group. And then Aunt Jet's like, there's a little witch in all of us or every
Mm-hmm.
woman. Carla is clearly at one with nature with her porcupine quills and zero fear of gigantic hairy spiders. But Linda is super in tune, if you notice. She's super in tune with all the Claires, the
Yeah.
energy work, her intuitive abilities. Linda's witchiness isn't as forefront visually as Carla's is, but if you notice like those little hints in the movie, like she's also 100% a witch.
I like that they're like, this is not our first exorcism.
Yeah,
We got you,
100%
girl.
not. Yeah. And if you notice like when they roll up to the I guess the house, and
Mm-hmm.
Carla, she pulls up in the car and she's like kind of like skipping up to the path with Kylie and Antonia with that broom. And did you see the broom she had? The broom she had looked like
So
she had it for
she's a
centuries.
witch.
Like
Yeah.
where did that come from?
She knows what she's doing.
You didn't bring no house cleaning broom from Costco, I'll tell you that.
No, 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 no.
She made that broom. So I'm thinking hands down Carla and Linda are witches.
Count them.
But sidebar, okay, so we'll go back to what we were starting to talk about before. I'm curious to know how the friendship formed between Sally and the ladies who worked at her shop. Do you think Sally hired them like first and then formed a friendship with them after as a result of being colleagues? Or do you think they had some sort of like trusted friendship prior to Sally opening her shop and they just kind of had some sort of unspoken knowledge about each other's like quote unquote gifts? Because I feel like witches kind of know when they're in the presence of each other.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if the shop ladies were sort of this silent support for Sally through the years, even prior to working at the shop. Like maybe they met in college. If Sally, I don't even think Sally went to college, right? She just stayed in town. So like I don't know how they kind of would have met.
I think that from because they know what the phone tree is. We don't see them at the meeting, but Margot
Right.
Martindale's character Linda has kids. So I don't know if they go to that school or not, but let's just say they meet in the phone tree, a PTA meeting, and maybe because Carla is a little different, like her and Sally kind of like sit next to each other. You know how you just attract the different, the people who are most like you. So I
Right.
have a feeling that she knew the ladies from the phone tree. The thing with Michael happened, and then Jillian comes and is like, "Get your shit together," and she opens the shop, and then I think she confides in them like, "Hey, do you want a job? Like, do you want to
Yeah.
help me out?" Like maybe because those are the only two people
Right.
besides her family that she can call on.
Right. I don't know if Carla, I don't think Carla has kids. I don't think anything's mentioned about her having kids
Mm-hmm.
in the film. Linda, we know, has a daughter because she said she could
Mm-hmm.
hear her crying across town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe her and Linda met at some sort of phone tree because Linda wasn't in the phone tree when we saw her in that meeting, right? She was only a worker in Sally's shop. So maybe at
Right.
some point, maybe their kids had some other kind of extracurricular activities that they kind of met through that. Because if she's
Here's
not
a
at the phone
thought.
tree, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
What if do they say Linda's last name? I think they do say my thought went to
Bennett, right?
what if Linda is Michael's sister? Wouldn't that be sad?
Well, Michael's last name was Bailey,
Bailey.
right?
I know. Yeah, I know.
And Linda's last name is Bennett, which is pretty close.
Could be married because she's got a kid.
Was she the one in the beginning that's like, Michael, watch out?
I thought she was.
That's not
But
her?
now I'm looking back. I got to go watch it. I don't think that's her. I think it's another brunette.
Okay. It looked
But
like her.
it did look like her. But that
Yeah.
would be interesting. What if that was his sister? The only thing I want to say about the two is I think they're amazing friends. Without, like I said, like the self-interest. I just think all of the phone tree women are playing a part. Nobody is being themselves. No, everybody is striving for that Stepford perfect life and playing that role like in their own lives. So in the case, yes, when Sally stops playing their game, and stops trying to be normal and fit in, and she finally
Yeah.
comes out, that's when the others stop too and let they put the game pieces aside and come together, and that's when they start sharing like those intricacies, those synchronicities, those, sorry, I just hit my mic, those special things that they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I do that too. I didn't
Yeah.
know other people did that too because I was too busy playing the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, too busy getting all caught up in the drama of the town.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But whether you call yourself a witch or not, like we all have those special things about ourselves, those intuitive abilities, those weird synchronistic things that happen that can't be explained. That happens to all of us. Whether you think it's magic, whether you think it's just coincidence, whatever you chalk it up to be, it doesn't matter. We
It's
can all agree
special.
we can all agree on one thing that absolutely it's special and it's unexplainable and that's what makes it, I guess, magical in essence, you know?
That's right. And that's life.
Yeah, man. So
That's life.
I didn't mean to come off before as saying that Carla had any kind of self-interest if that's what I made it sound like. I just was saying that maybe Carla, she saw how Sally was kind of being ostracized, so she kind of like didn't kind of like make her voice known about who she was as well, even though she was very visibly like witchy as fuck.
Yeah.
So she kind of like just like downplayed it a little bit until Sally came out, and I think that's why she got so excited
Yeah.
because she saw it as this like kind of opening for her to be herself at that point too.
Yeah. I
So
see
I
that.
just thought that was an interesting dynamic. But I
I
think those
agree.
both of those shop girls are witchy as hell, and you don't really notice it unless you're really paying attention.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so funny. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do a card pull from the Inner Witch Oracle. And then we have a few articles on some baby steps you can take to ease your own broom closet exiting process. We'll be right back.
Hey, we're the Stinas, and you're listening to the Magnolia Street podcast. Dude, I want to show you the. So remember that diffuser I was showing you? This is what it goes into.
Is that a crystal in there inside?
It's the diffuser that's inside. So right now I have tea inside in that
it's
diffuser.
A tea diffuser. Okay.
Yeah. And,
I've seen water bottles like that have the crystals inside.
Yeah. No crystals.
Yeah.
No crystals. I made dude, we're gonna see how this second part goes, because I was like, oh my god, my stomach's in knots. So I put valerian in here to try to like calm that down. And hopefully within the hour it takes us to do the rest of this, I'll be chilled out. But
either you're gonna be really mellow or you're just gonna fall the fuck asleep. We'll see.
I know it's gonna be entertaining, but I wanted to say, I like, not sponsored whatsoever, but if you can check out Skyclad Apothecary, dude, their valerian, did I tell you this already? Doesn't smell. Like, I don't know how she dehydrates it or whatever. It's sweet. It smells sweet. It doesn't smell like ass or feet. It smells
Does it
really
usually
good.
smell like ass and feet?
Yes, it smells disgusting.
Okay.
Valerian smells really gross, but letting that diffuse. Also, I want to say right now, 6 hours later, this has been time. Let's do the time warp again. Midnight double feature.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but the fog has rolled in, and I'm like, Aaron, look how cool it looks outside. He was like, this is that Civil War ghost kind of weather.
I love it.
And it was funny until I had to go outside and bring the dog out and close up the cold frame, and then I'm like, I don't want no like Jebediah coming at me from the woods.
Did you ever see Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
No.
I'll fucking watch that shit.
Okay.
It sounds like it should be horrible, but it's actually a really good movie.
Okay.
Pretty good. Yeah. I don't know who just thought to mix Abraham Lincoln and vampires, but it works.
Should we start a thread of all the stuff we're like, you should watch that, put it on the Discord so we have a list and we won't forget.
Let's do it. Oh, yeah, by the way, I listened to we could just touch on this briefly and talk about it in another maybe bonus episode, but okay. I actually ended up listening to that episode today that Cunning Celt was telling us about that you originally had in your notes for today, and I was like, let's talk about it on another episode because I hadn't listened to it yet, but then I listened to it today, so we could talk about it if you want to.
I am so grateful that they sent that to us because it was so fucking funny. So the podcast is called The Villain Was Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they discuss, like, just from the villain's perspective, how the story went down. And oh my gosh, this podcast has made me look at this movie in a whole different light. Right? I'm like, I was so naive.
Yes.
You know, to look at the movie from just this point of view and be like, so romantic, nostalgic, but no, they were right.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you start watching the movie when you're a teenager, it kind of you grow up with it, and like you kind of overlook certain things that should probably make you question more than you do.
Yes, because they're lit as like the good people, the heroes, the underdog, right?
They're like, they're the protagonists of the film. So yeah, definitely. But going back to like everything that they were talking about on that episode, one of the things was like with the aunts and their moral compass.
They have no moral compass at all.
Zero moral compass.
They're just for hire, really, dude. Yeah, let's talk about this in like a bonus. We could just talk about every aspect, and I don't want to rip it off or anything, but it's too fucking funny not to talk about.
We're not going to rip it off because we're going to literally quote them in every hilarious thing that they said on that episode, because it was I was like pissing my pants the whole way to work, and I'm like Marco, and you like, oh my god, this shit is so funny. So thank you, Cunning Celt, for setting that our way.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and also I do want to mention that there were more than one villain in their episode, right? They had Jimmy.
You think it's going to be the one. It's not just the one.
Right, but then they label the entire town as the villain.
Right, but the entire town as the villain, but who was in the right the whole time? Like they had all rights reserved to not like this family.
And you know what I liked about that episode? They question a lot of the things that we also questioned in one of our previous episodes. Like, was it the curse? Was it just death? Was it chicken pox? Or was it just the kid running, like, youth in the 90s running its course? Like,
because
every
kid had the chicken pox. Yeah, did you?
I.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only person I know who didn't get it was my freaking brother because he had the vaccine.
Wow. Welcome back. I think we have a card pull to do
We
from Inner
do.
Witch Oracle by Grounded by the Moon, who has just been like the sweetest thing. We get to interact with them on Instagram and
And
Facebook
TikTok
also,
now.
and TikTok now. So thank
Yeah.
you very much for giving us this beautiful piece of artwork to enjoy and share with others.
We oogle over it every single week. So
You know what they told me? That the rose card, their description and inspiration for the rose card was Sally.
they commented that on a TikTok video? I think I saw that on the TikTok
Yeah, isn't that cool?
video.
Because we
Uh-huh.
pulled that, I think, the episode before.
The Witch Fashion episode, I think.
Okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. Can you hear that? All right, cool. All right. So we're gonna pull a card. I guess Christina, if you wanna tell me, hold on, let me get another shuffle going. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. So we got the new moon.
The new
New
moon.
moon.
Okay.
The
Okay.
new moon. So this is all about new beginnings. So let's see what Grounded by the Moon's got to say about new beginnings. So,
Ha 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 ha.
all right. So this card is all about new beginnings, and the other keyword is the darkness, because the new moon is the point where the
Like the
moon is like
band.
not visible in the sky, right?
Yeah.
I believe in a color.
Just as the rhythm of my heart. I
love
bet
that.
you could hit that note that he
I
does.
can. I
Oh,
can.
goddamn.
I've sung it with bands before, like covering that song.
Whoa,
Yeah.
cool.
It's one of my favorite songs to cover. I freaking love it. This says you are ready for this. Allow yourself to give into this newfound energy and embrace it.
God damn it.
Did you just have an aha moment?
That's wonderful. No, like coming out of the broom closet, like you're ready to do this.
Dude, did we
Every
not
time.
have we not said this on like a previous podcast? Every card I feel like we've picked
Cards don't lie.
has been perfect for the episode we pick it for. It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't know how they did this.
I don't know how it happens, but yeah. So, give into this newfound energy and embrace it. New beginnings tend to bring about needed changes, letting what we no longer need dissipate and vanish from our lives. Now is your time. Your new beginning is right before you. The new moon tells you that now is the time to confront issues and begin your new path. The new moon also brings with it illumination, highlighting and bringing into focus that which we are hiding from ourselves. New moons often symbolize and encourage new beginnings. Use this card during the new moon cycle and readings to harness its energy. And the mantra is I am ready for and embrace the new. So that's just a little bit.
God damn it. That's good.
Yeah, that hit the nail on the head for this episode, did it not?
That is fucking awesome. Is there a spell work that goes along with this one?
No, that was it. It just said use the card during the new moon cycle and your
Okay.
readings to harness its energy.
Very nice. We are heading right now into that full moon, Mañana, Gemini.
Yeah.
Watch out. Good thing we're doing this today.
You sent me something the other day where it was like Sagittarius and Gemini, right?
Yeah.
That some shit was gonna go down, and we're like, oh God, what the fuck does this mean?
You know what though? Fire sign and air sign. You know who else is fire sign and air sign? Charlie and Macy. You know who else is fire sign and air sign? Two Geminis and a Leo. I'm just saying.
Shit.
I'm sure there's more, but like I fan you.
Wait a minute. Wait, what are Jack Black and Kyle Gass? I need to know.
Oh God. Jack Black's birthday.
He's
August
a Virgo.
28th. Ah.
Yeah. All right. That kills our theory. So just forget everything you just said.
Maybe Rage Cage birthday will come up first.
He's a Cancer.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That Virgo and a Cancer with their dynamic. Holy cow.
Completely killed our theory. We're like, oh yeah, fire and air. And they're just like earth and water. All right, fuck up. Fine.
It's all good. Thank you all for sticking around. We have a few different articles we want to hit up in regard to whether or not you decide to come out of the broom closet. So I think we're going to start with an article from Moody Moons.
All right. So yes. So this is basically an article, I guess, kind of giving you advice, like once you decide to make the decision to come out of the broom closet, because it is, it's a heavy decision. Like you don't really know how people in your life are going to react to your lifestyle choices. So it's kind of not tiptoeing on around eggshells, but like,
I
you
like that
well,
saying, tiptoeing around the eggshells.
not on them, around them.
Yeah. I like that much more.
That's a Justina-ism. I didn't quite hit it right, but that's what I said. I said what I said, and I'm sticking to it.
That's right.
So it says secrecy is a practice among many pagans, witches, and craft practitioners. Witchcraft stereotypes or stigmas often lead people to perceive us as untrustworthy or sinister, which is why many of us choose to remain behind closed doors in order to avoid those uncomfortable moments. And I'm going to sidebar right now. I think this is probably attributed to Hollywood. So thanks,
One,
Hollywood,
yeah,
for
100%.
painting us in this light, right?
Yeah.
So hereditary witches are sometimes encouraged to keep it hidden by their family members. Isn't it possible that we are worried about nothing sometimes? Here are some helpful things to think about if you decide that silence isn't for you, or if you wonder whether you should be a witch in the public eye. It's totally up to you, so it's not obligatory for you to share how you view the universe with anyone. In that vein, you're also not obligated to wear on your t-shirt. Being public has its pros and its cons. Being private has its pros and its cons. So weigh what those are for you personally and make a decision that's best for you. Do you want to interject with anything here?
I will say that when I did that, like 6 things I wish I would have known about being a newbie witch, was like one of the big things is you don't have to dress a certain way.
Right.
You don't have to blast it. You don't have to put it on a billboard. You don't have to wear any jewelry that says any of that.
Right.
It can be really personal. Or, if you are that more flamboyant person and you're feeling brave, absolutely. But I think we go on to say be prepared for questions.
Yeah.
That's all I
So
gotta say.
basically, you could be Sally or you could be Carla.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose
Exactly.
what's right for you. So also language, use whatever language you feel most helpful to foster understanding. If you plan an actual sit down conversation with someone, it helps to know your audience. Perhaps your Irish grandmother won't understand the word Wicca, but she might appreciate that you honor your heritage by celebrating Celtic holidays that she remembers from girlhood. And I also want to interject here for a minute. My wedding was not a Catholic wedding. It was not, it was not religion in any sense. We honored the elements, we did hand fasting, we did, some pagan tradition stuff, but a lot of my family members are Catholic and Christian. We didn't announce that this is a pagan ceremony. Like we didn't like feel like we had to put it on a flag. We kind of just like subtly slipped it in there. And you know what? We got a lot of compliments on it
There
from
you go.
our predominantly Catholic and Christian and Hindu family members. So
That's amazing.
yeah, and it's the intent, it if it comes from a place of love, you could just you could feel the love in the room when
Yeah.
we had our wedding ceremony, and I think that's the feeling that we really conveyed to everybody who was there to witness our ceremony. And that's the feeling that we take away from it. Like, we didn't feel like we had to like parade around like these are our beliefs, and like, I don't feel like it always has to be said,
Right.
so
And they're there to support you and your
exactly.
union. And if they're gonna say something about the ceremony, shame on them.
Right, exactly,
Most of
exactly.
them, I don't know how your wedding was. Most of them are there for the open bar. I'm just saying.
Right, exactly. 100% true.
Yeah.
So okay, so this next bullet point on this list, it says maybe the word witchcraft will make your monotheistic sister cringe, but holistic medicine or natural home remedies feels more familiar to her. It's so crazy,
Absolutely.
like how just the wording can make people feel a certain way,
Just like aromatherapy,
Yeah, yeah,
doTERRA. That
right,
is so well
doTERRA.
known.
Did I tell you I'm a doTERRA member? I freaking love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, one of my aunts, she's like the biggest Christian. Like she was one of those aunts that used to like pray for me over my head when I was sick as a child. She would just like pray in
Wow.
Jesus' name. I pray that you're healed, whatever. Love her to
Wow.
death. But she could say something sometimes and I'm just like, "Whoo, you crazy." But she's into like the homeopathic remedies. She's the one that actually one of the people who got me into doTERRA. So I'm like, you're a witch.
Yeah.
So, or maybe you just want to explain your tradition to your mother enough for her to feel comfortable at your first child's baby's blessing. Whatever your approach is, finding the words your loved one relates to the most often goes a long way. And I truly
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Could you hear my stomach just then? I really hope not.
No.
Dude, I need to go add some honey to this tea because it got
Go ahead.
so strong. Did you see me
Go ahead,
struggling? I
yeah.
was taking the diffuser out because I was like, whoa, I'll be right back.
Oh.
Digested distress. Okay. All right. The next thing Moody Moon has to say is expect to be shocked by just how much no one really cares. And I can attest to this because we'll talk about it a little later about me coming out to some people and they were like, I don't fucking give a shit. Okay. So no matter how conservative, rigid, or deeply religious you think your friends and family are, don't assume they will begrudge you. Moody Moons goes on to say that they have a Christian, Jewish, Hindu, and Muslim. They have Muslim family and friends, and none of them have ever cared where they pray or how or to whom. So, of course, expectations to any rule exist. Most reasonable people recognize that your spiritual life as an adult is your business, which that I definitely agree with. You are an adult now. You know, you're not under someone's roof.
Right.
Just don't hurt anybody, you know?
Exactly.
So let them surprise you. If your loved one responds with, I don't believe in that stuff, you don't need to convince them. Like they're kind of already in that. If they have questions, go for it, you know, answer to the best of your ability.
Right.
But simply say, it's not important to me that you believe what I believe. It's important to me that you respect my right to choose my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there we go.
So watch for the curveball, which is curiosity, right?
Yeah.
So is it Moody Mood or Moody Moon?
Moody Moon. I keep fumbling over the name.
Moody Moon. Sailor Moon says.
Sailor Moon.
Moody Moon says.
Keith Moon.
Keith Moon says, in my experience, curiosity is actually the most likely response, but it still surprises me every time. Rather than reacting negatively to your disclosure, much of the time people express genuine curiosity. If they do, take the opportunity to dispel common myths about witchcraft and encourage a properly respectful, honest discussion. And some of these myths are listed below. So the first myth is that witchcraft includes or is somehow related to devil worship.
Right.
And again, I think this is, this has been a thing that has been made by Hollywood. I feel like they don't really do us any favors as far as pinning us in a good light concerns. But so the concept of the devil, as Western society understands, is it emerged mostly from monotheistic Abrahamic religions like Christianity and Islam. Belief in the devil as an opponent of the God of Abraham remains a tenet of many faiths. And as non-Christian, Moody Moon says, I absolutely respect that. However, most modern practitioners of witchcraft do not acknowledge a satanic being at all. There are some exceptions, which is a blended traditions wherein Christian influence imprinted the concept of the devil, or those who identify as quote-unquote Christian witches may recognize an oppositional being known as quote-unquote the devil. Most mainstream Christians recognize the devil as an entity also, but that doesn't mean that they worship him. Although Christian thought leaders throughout history sometimes labeled pagan gods as the manifestation of the devil, this approach largely aimed to discredit indigenous religious practices and encourage pagan populations to turn towards monotheism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in was it the Brooms lore that we did that episode, we talk a lot about like everybody was in cahoots with the devil. You know what I mean? Agus, what's her name? Alice Kettler.
Oh, Kettler.
Just sweeping, probably trying to do her neighbor a favor, sweeping the front porch, and then she's convicted of witchcraft, sweeping the luck away from said person, you know?
If you looked at somebody the wrong way back then, like it was you were a witch.
Yeah. So myth number 2, we have Wicca and witchcraft are the same thing. So many non-practitioners use the word Wicca and witchcraft pretty interchangeably. Because Wicca enjoys relatively high popularity in the Western world, it's easy to understand the confusion. However, witchcraft is the blanket term, that umbrella term we've said before. And under it, we find Wicca along with a whole host of other practices, along with Afro-Caribbean traditions, Celtic traditions, Central American traditions, and many indigenous practices around the world. To further add to that confusion, some Wiccans don't practice witchcraft at all. Spellcasting is merely one component of many, including the honoring of the moon cycles, natural living practices, and the wheel of the year, which I kind of fall into. I don't label myself a Wiccan, but I
Yeah.
consider myself a witch.
Yeah, I would not necessarily label myself a Wiccan by any means.
Right.
I feel like Wicca is more like set up like I guess a religion, right? They have more kind of like
Structure?
not rules, but more of a structure in
A
place. Whereas
dogma?
yeah, exactly. Whereas paganism is more of like that blanket term that kind of like all encompassing, like eclectic, kind of like taking from different traditions that kind of like resonate with you to kind of form your own set of beliefs. It's not really dictated by like any one specific, like, I don't know, god or goddess, or like, and pagans do worship god or gods and god different ones too.
I don't honor any gods, but I will maybe focus on some of their aspects or characteristics when I need to, talking about a pop pantheon. If you have time, look into that. I think I did a video a long time ago, but, respectfully pulling from those energies to exude what you need or kind of get you're working across, I guess.
Right. And I just want to say, like, when I was younger, I was so much more into spell work. I thought it was like, it was cool, it was dark, it was
Yeah.
mysterious, it made me feel powerful, like, because
Mm-hmm.
I grew up watching those movies where like a lot of those witches were just doing spell work.
Mm-hmm.
But as an adult coming to my own, I feel like I do a lot less spell work now, but now I'm more seasonally focused and I'm more in tune with
For
the wheel of
sure.
the wheel of the year and gardening and just being in flow with the season changes. Like I
It's
feel like
so important.
that's more of like the witch I am now today. I don't
That's why
do a lot.
we jive. I love that.
Yeah, and like me and Christina
Slaps.
are always like, "What are you doing in your garden today? What are you
Yeah.
planting today?" Like we're such
Yeah.
old ladies. That's good. Like we're just gonna be Jet and Francis one day. You realize that, right?
No moral compass.
Moral compass. We're just gonna be witches for hire.
Yep. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Not saying, and sorry, not sorry. So, oh my God, it's too funny. So myth number 3: typical Christians don't practice witchcraft. This says, well, they may not call it that, but I would. During a traditional mass, the priest is said to turn wine into the blood of Christ and bread into his
Witchcraft.
flesh. Is it not friggin' witchcraft? Oh my God,
Witchcraft.
that's so freaking witchy. And that sounds even like a little satanic, from like a Hollywood perspective, like a
Dude,
blood sacrifice. That's so friggin' like
I
just
used
a,
to be an altar server.
did you?
And I think I just I was talked into it because A, they didn't have anybody else to do the Croatian masses, but B, I was really good at lighting the candles with
Wait,
that long thing. You're supposed to light all the candles like on the
why
altar
why are you so good at it?
because I was a witch.
And you had on your leather pants.
That's right, underneath whatever
Church.
that thing was we had to wear. But it was so, it is so ritualized. And even seeing behind the mask, behind
Uh-huh.
the sanctuary, like how to light the incense and all of the like reverence everything is supposed to have, and like how you handle the goblet of blood
Yeah,
differently
yeah.
than the wine.
So freaking witchy, man.
Yeah.
So it says for some, this transition is meant to be symbolic. Many Christian traditions even interpret this transformation literally. Either way, many practicing witches would akin this and other common mainstream Christian traditions to spellcraft or at least magical ritualism. This
Birthday
compares,
candles.
yes, exactly. This is exactly what, yeah, it's what's it called? What's the secret? Law of
Attra-
attraction.
Law of
Yeah,
attraction. Yeah.
law of attraction. That's basically what blowing out birthday candles and making a wish is, right? It's just law of
Mm-hmm.
attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, this comparison is not intended to offend Christians, but to point out that what practicing witches do really isn't that different, at least in form, than what they do, on the day to
Mm-hmm.
day. It says we use ritual as a means to commune with the divine and spellcraft as a means to express ourselves to a higher power. We sometimes even use the words spell and prayer interchangeably.
For sure.
Yeah, if you're a Christian and you'd rather not define your traditions as witchcraft, this Moody Mood says, I mean, no disrespect, but if you're asking me what I call witchcraft, I personally don't see a whole lot of difference between saying the rosary and chanting over an altar. 100%.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's the
I
same thing.
agree.
It's the same thing. It's just like you're putting out your smoke signal into the universe or to a god, whatever it is. You are expecting a higher power to grant you, your wish or your prayer, whatever it is.
Hmm.
You are asking for something in exchange for you honoring whatever it is that you're honoring,
For
right?
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So myth number 4 is that witchcraft is an ancient religion. So this witchcraft is an ancient practice. Okay, there's the distinction, not a religion. The earliest cave dwellers left behind artifacts of shamanistic witchcraft. If you could see, they link the sorcerer. It's a cave art piece, and we'll link that also as a solid example. And it absolutely qualifies as a universal archetype.
So I have the article open, and basically the sorcerer, I'm looking at this sketch. It's called the Sketch of Brule's Drawing. It looks like a deer. So it says the sorcerer is one name for an enigmatic cave painting found in a cavern known as a sanctuary at the cave of the
Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, made around 13,000 BCE. The figure's
Wow.
significance is unknown, but it is usually interpreted as some kind of great spirit or master of animals. And that's so fucking weird. Christina, have I not
Mm,
been telling you that I've been seeing bucks everywhere? They just been
yes.
jumping out in front of my car, left and right.
Still? That's
Yeah.
wild.
Dude, I
Oh.
probably see at least like one a week, one or two a week. So it says the unusual nature of the sanctuary's decoration may also reflect the practice of magical ceremonies in the chamber. In his sketches of the cave art, Henry Brule drew a horned humanoid torso, and the publication of this drawing in the 1920s it influenced the subsequent theories about the figure. However, Brule's sketch has also come under criticism in recent years. A single prominent human figure is unusual in the cave paintings of the Upper Paleolithic, where the great majority of representations are of animals. This is
Interesting.
a whole rabbit hole. I don't know how much
Wow.
you want to read.
Okay, we'll link it. We'll link it below for sure.
One last thing. I just want to like the drawing itself. There's just a little blurb here. So Henry Brule, the artist of this drawing, asserted that the cave painting represented a shaman or a magician, an interpretation which gives the image its name, and described the image he drew in these terms. And
Mhm.
Mark Murray, having seen the published drawing called Brule's image, said the first depiction of a deity of Earth is an idea which Brule and others later adopted.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a little bit. So basically, that drawing, the cave drawing, is supposed to be a depiction of a shaman or a magician. So that's pretty interesting.
Beautiful. That's really cool. All right. So if we accept Wikipedia's eloquently yet simplistic definition of witchcraft as quote unquote broadly the practice of and belief in magical skills and abilities exercised by solitary practitioners and groups, then all known cultures practiced some form of witchcraft at one time. Okay. So your ancestors were witches. Your ancestors were witches. We all have descended from some kind of witchcraft or some kind of folk magic or belief or superstition. And then that brings it back to the myth that witchcraft is not an ancient religion. It's an ancient
It's
practice.
a practice,
But
yes.
even the Bible recognizes humanity's ancient roots in witchcraft. But like witchcraft isn't a religion at all. It's components of various religions, and many religions that acknowledge openly their use of witchcraft are actually quite modern, including and perhaps especially Wicca.
So myth 5, if you let your kids spend time with pagan children, they may be converted or enticed into practicing witchcraft. That is the most ridiculous freaking thing I have
Yeah.
ever heard.
But I'm going to tell you the truth. If I had a pagan or witchy friend growing up, like sooner than I already did, for sure I would have fallen in faster, head first.
Christina's like, okay, so I'm a prime candidate for
It's
being
for,
converted into a cult.
it's for me. It's for me.
So in a broad sense, but with a few major exceptions like Buddhism, what's proselytism? What's that?
Proselytism, like to go proselytize, Mormonism, perhaps? Let me look it up.
I've never heard of that term. Proselytism or enticed conversion is a feature unique to, or at least most frequently employed by, monotheism. So for cultural as well as theological reasons, a monotheistic child is actually much more likely to try to convert a pagan child than the other way around. And I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
how many people of the church have come out of the woodwork trying to get you to come to Jesus?
Oh, all the time.
Right?
All
All
the
the
time.
time. All the time.
Proselytism is the policy of attempting to convert people's religions or political beliefs. It's
Right.
illegal in some
So
countries.
I wish it were illegal here. How many
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses come knocking at your door and I'm just like, can you please freaking leave?
Oh, I'm like, do y'all need some bottles of water or hand warmers?
You're too nice, Christina. I'm just like, get off my lawn. I'm really Clint Eastwood about it. Yeah, yeah, really. Or I just hang the the star on your door and keep them
Yeah.
away real fast.
I'm surprised your witch's broom doesn't keep them away.
That's what I said. Am I evil eye? Yeah.
Hmm.
I have that out on my porch and I've had Jehovah's Witnesses knock up on my door before. I don't even answer it. I'm just like, go away. Um but anyway, yeah, so basically it's saying that it's much more likely for a monotheistic child to try to convert a pagan child than the other way around. And this author goes on to say, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's generally not how we roll. And that's true. Like, I've never seen a pagan person try and convert anybody into what they were doing. We usually kind of like keep to ourselves and do our thing. We don't expect anybody to believe in what we do or to, be on board. But
Yeah, it's most of the time we're not surprised and
right.
we're like, I don't want to
Yeah,
be a part of this. Oh, I
exactly.
get it. I get it.
Yeah. I feel like that's why a lot of the time, I feel like that's why a lot of witches are solitary practitioners because we are so, not that like we're introverted, but like we've just dealt with so much of society's bullshit. We're kind of like, it's kind of like our sacred space to kind of
Yeah.
just be ourselves and connect with spirit on our own, at our own accord, and
Yeah.
not have to kind of adhere to anybody else's time frame or expectations of what that looks like.
Yeah. I
Right.
think if you're lucky enough to come up in a family that doesn't pertain to any one religion, then it's easier to branch out and learn about different religions. But like just from my point of view, coming from a Catholic household, there's a lot of distrust with what you're told. So when you branch out, then you're doing your own research and looking up your own information, and of course know what sources you're getting it from. It should be like witchcraft path of learning. You're always learning and trusting in yourself.
No, but I get what you're saying though, like because I also grew up in a Catholic Christian household, and again, like I had to do a lot of my own research. Like once I started, getting into my path and going down that path, like I said, I was in the library a lot and I was taking out books a lot, and I would bring home books on talismans, candle magic, like
Mhm.
anything I could get my hands on, astrology, the elements, like literally anything.
I think it also gives you a better sense of other people's choices and like paths in life,
Yeah.
because even from the pagan side, since we said before, it's not just witchcraft, Wicca, it's Afro-American traditions, Celtic religions, Central American, like all those different flavors and cultures are so exciting,
Yeah.
and not appropriating them, but being knowledgeable about them.
Right.
You get to talk to so many more people, and just I love being able to learn their experiences within
And I
their
feel,
different religions.
yeah, and I feel like that's what I love about paganism is it's just like a melting pot of different cultures and traditions and
Yeah.
practices. And I think it's just beautiful to be able to take a little bit of knowledge from each area or avenue
Hmm.
that you come across because it just
Hmm.
makes you more of a well-rounded individual in which. So anyway, so going back to the myth about letting kids spend time with pagan children, worrying about whether or not they'll be converted. So this author goes on to say your kid might end up doing scary things with his pagan friend, like stop playing video games for a half hour to go watch the stars, or learn
Oh,
how to compost properly.
exactly. Oh my God, that's cute.
It says, but spellcasting, probably not, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any kid is, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. If you want to consider playing with mud pies and making potions out of dirt and twigs and leaves, I mean that maybe that's considered spellcasting, but you know what it also is? Using your freaking imagination. And what kid
Right.
is not doing that already? You
What
know?
kid has not made a fairy garden?
Right,
Let me
right.
ask you, which is, in my opinion, a little dangerous, but parents let them do it all the time.
I just hope they don't let them play by any what are they? Not the Rowan tree.
Hawthorne.
The Hawthorne tree. He's getting
Yeah.
kidnapped into the fairy realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this says pagan parents usually feel a sensitivity as a community to non-pagan parents, and we recognize that you may not appreciate us exposing your child to our beliefs. We generally don't even assume it's okay to conduct a ritual with a pagan child who isn't ours. We
Yeah.
have no central doctrine. Our traditions can be extremely personalized, varying widely from family to family, even with the same coven or group. Therefore, we usually don't assume what's okay for our family is okay for someone else. But if you have any doubts, a simple, we're happy to send little Jimmy to your house, just please avoid any spiritual topics, as we prefer to discuss those things with him ourselves, it will most certainly go over just fine and get the point across effectively. And lastly, and most importantly, it's not cool to exclude kids because of their parents' religious or spiritual beliefs, no matter how much you disagree with them. So don't be a dick. Be cool. Just be cool.
Be cool. They're children. Their little brains are just mush and they're going to absorb everything. And like, they're already getting so many different avenues of information coming at them. So just don't. Yeah. So I think there was in that article, if you can go back, there were like 2 other myths, and one of them was like witches are ugly. It was like some weird stuff, so I didn't include it, but that's the end of the myths we have for our thing.
Yeah,
but
we're not green.
We're not
we don't have
green.
warts.
That's right.
I came across, I think it was a thread. I don't remember where it was, but somebody was basically offended at green face for Halloween, like witches painting themselves green.
Okay, what was their reason?
I don't remember what their reasoning was, but they basically were saying that it was offensive to real practicing witches. And then somebody else chimed in and was like, you do realize that green face was not meant to be like a slur or like anything offensive. The green face for witches literally came about because of Wizard of Oz, because they just started making movies in color and they needed to do something with the makeup to make it
coloring
pop out. Exactly. So it was all solely for Hollywood purposes, and I'm pretty sure that was the origination of the green witch face.
I have another little thing. Do you know what the Kaliak is? She's the kind of goddess. Familiar. She's like I think she's like a winter goddess. But anyway, a beautiful woman at our women's circle was dressed as her one year, and she was telling us about like the origination of the green skin and the nose. And she was saying that the women at the time, were being abused and beaten up, who were the healers, you know what I mean? Yeah, so the green skin was the bruises on their face, and the big crooked nose was because their noses were broken, and like all that discoloration in their face. I was like, ow.
That's a much more that's a much darker approach to
it is.
I mean, I personally don't know what is the truth. Like, was it Hollywood that came up with it? Was it that other legend of Kaliak or whatever it was? I don't know.
But I do love that, speaking of Wizard of Oz, that they included those red and white socks, which I think we have a topic about someday, right?
Yeah.
We have that on our list. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Lastly from Moody Moons, we have know your rights. If you live in the U.S., the federal government affords you the right to religious freedom and protection from discrimination on that bias. Yeah, girl, listen, if you want off, you don't have to take off for Christmas, but if you want off for Yule, Samhain, Imbolc, Ostara, Beltane, you're legally allowed to take those off. You're allowed to take those off. So if you feel that you are being discriminated against at work during housing or loan application processes or in other protected scenarios, seek the appropriate legal advice.
Yeah, I mean, if Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A can close on Sundays, like a whole ass business can close on Sunday, why can't you freaking take off for Samhain or Yule or whatever the fuck you want,
The sweetest thing, my boss is super supportive. Yeah. He was calling me a vegan for a long time.
Not the same thing. But okay.
He was like, because you're a vegan, right? I was like no. Hagen. He's so cute.
That's amazing. I love that.
He's really supportive. And I think it was last Halloween, he was like, did you want off for whatever day it fell on? He was like, I know that's kind of a big day for you guys.
I love that.
So, and he always asks about like, hey, what are you, it's the solstice or it's the equinox. What you doing?
Yeah.
you know?
That's
So
so cool.
it is cool.
I love that. No, it's cool to have, though, even people that don't necessarily believe in what you believe, it's cool to have those people who have your back and like support you no matter who you are and what you believe. Everybody,
Yeah.
I mean, we're only human. It'd be
We're all
kind of
in this together. What was it before? I think I've heard like it's we're all in need of a phone company. It just depends on what phone line
who
you
you want
pick
to
or something
call,
like that. Yeah.
or it depends on who you want to call, right?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter who it is, if it's God, if it's Allah, if
Mhm.
it's, I don't know, Stevie Nicks.
Satan.
Stevie Nicks!
That was Moody Moon's article. It's called So You Decide to Come Out of the Broom Closet, and that will be linked below.
Yeah, man. And now we're gonna shuffle on over to this other article called 10 Baby Steps Out of the Broom Closet. So if you're thinking about coming out of that broom closet, here's some steps you could take to kind of ease along that process. So people stare and shake their heads sadly while telling us we are going to hell. How many times has that happened to you, Christina?
Oh, glory. Just
What
my
about,
family members or anybody?
or just like anybody, like how many, how many crazies have come out of the woodwork and commented on my YouTube videos? Like, come
Oh,
back to,
yeah.
like that guy in the craft with the snake, like, come back to Jesus. I was just like,
He
oh my,
is so scary, though. Woof.
Wolf is right. All right. So yeah, people tell us we're going to hell all the time. Even though the laws of our country clearly protect our religious freedom and our government officially recognizes paganism as a valid religion, we still remain something that society would rather not see. Something sinister to be kept hidden away behind closed doors. It's human nature to be leery of what is unknown and mysterious. So why do we hide? The easy answer is that so many of us keep our religion's choice private for fear of the consequences. Would we be fired? Would we be forced to move? Would the neighbors stop waving at us in the driveway? I mean, maybe if your neighbor saw you dancing naked under the full moon, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but it is illegal to discriminate on the basis of religion, and the law is on our side, but only if we use it. Those who came before us did not have it so easy. Countless brave souls have fought and died for our right to practice our faith, yet so many pagans hide it away as if they have something to hide. Our secretiveness gives the appearance that we are hiding something dark and sinister that society would not accept, when in reality, if most people understood the pagan religion, they would realize that it's something not to be feared at all. We have nothing to feel guilty for, nor be ashamed of, and yet we keep it hidden. What honor do we give to those who have sacrificed for religious freedoms if we do not exercise our rights? It is not easy to come out of the broom closet, and in many cases, being totally open in all facets of your life is just not feasible. But every time we hide, we hurt the pagan community at large because we only strengthen society's tendency to believe that we have something to hide, which in turn leads more pagans to remain hidden. It is a nasty and vicious circle of prejudice that will not end until more of us are open about our faith. When more of us hold our heads up proudly and stop acting as if we have some dirty little secret, only then will society begin to accept us as part of it. And this does not mean that all pagans need to run out into the street shouting the word of the goddess. This does not mean we should all start wearing huge pentacles and engaging everyone we meet in a debate on theology. But every time one of us makes an effort to fit in with society without apology, without shame, and without doubt that we are just as spiritually valid as anyone else, the whole pagan community benefits. And those efforts do not have to be huge. Every one of us can take baby steps out of the closet to shine a little light on paganism so that society can see us for what we really are.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, remember when I was like your Jersey accent comes out every now and then?
What did I say? What did I say?
When you say your A's is when it comes out like nasty, and when you say podcast, paganism,
Paganism?
pagan, nasty.
You want to say it like paganism?
It's the A's.
All right. Okay. Good to know.
I love it. I love it. It's the easiest way to make a podcast.
Podcast. All right. So my mom says the awes like coffee and dog. But I guess mine are more like, yeah, podcast.
Yeah. I love it.
So do you want to lead us through these 10 baby steps out of the broom closet?
Yes, right. I would. I interrupted you though earlier. You were going to tell us who it was by.
That's on themystica.com, and I don't know if this says the author. Hold on. No, it just says copyright Willow Grove all rights
Okay.
reserved. I don't know what the author is of this article, but it's on themystica.com and we'll link it below.
Okay. Cool. So we have 10 steps for you. Damn.
Yeah. Podcast.
All right. So here are some 10 baby steps for you. So number one, you can choose to wear a pentacle in public. It doesn't have to be huge. Keep that in mind, just visible.
Yeah.
If you need to be careful, wear it only when you will not see anyone you know. Even if you only wear it to the grocery store once a month, someone will see it. If you are asked what it means, smile warmly and explain simply. If someone glares at you, smile warmly anyways. Yeah. Number two, next time you are asked for a poll or survey or census of what religion you are, be honest. Nobody's going to hang up on you. They need that call
No,
time.
no. It says no one will hang you.
No one will hang you. Let me increase the size of my screen.
No
There
one
we
will
go.
hang you. So that's good to know, right?
Can I do that one again?
Leave it in. It's funny.
Just leave it in.
Leave it. Yeah.
If you are raising, number three, if you are raising your children pagan, talk with somebody at the school so that they understand what that means. For a great article about educating educators, visit the following site, and this is going to be under the religiousTolerance.org site that's going to be listed in these notes. Number four, if a coworker asks what plans you have for the weekend, don't leave things out. But you don't have to say, I'm going for a frolic naked and chanting under the full moon in the forest. You can simply say, some friends and I are going camping and going to hold a special ceremony in honor of the earth. No one will burn you at the stake, and you might be surprised at the dialogue that does come up.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be all Jet and Francis about it and be like,
No.
dance naked under the full moon. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Most of the time,
they do make it very clear that the nudity is entirely optional.
right. Most of the time, I
Right?
just say, I'm having a bonfire.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you
Yeah,
gotta say.
that's all you gotta say.
Yep.
You don't have to get into detail.
Also,
What,
it's you gotta discern your audience also. So
right.
what if you feel comfortable, go for it. And then number five, we have support pagan businesses, especially those with an actual storefront. Pagan stores that operate only online can keep their identity of their employees a secret out in cyberland. But when a store has a building and a big sign on the street, they are very, very exposed to public scrutiny. These are brave folks who deserve the support of the pagan community. And when society sees these businesses thriving, it gives validation to pagans everywhere. If you do not have a local pagan store, at least try to shop with an online store that also operates as a real physical store somewhere.
I have
And
to
I want,
ask you,
oh, go ahead.
the store that your friend runs,
Mhm.
how is that accepted? Because you're in the Bible Belt, kind of, right?
We're in
Would
the
you
deep
consider?
South.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
how is that received where you are?
So I've only met her once. The friend I have as a tattoo artist that we're going to interview on the sacredness of tattooing, I hope.
Oh yeah.
So she's the one I know kind of more personally. What I wanted to say with this is like, I wanted, when I met her, like, bring them something. Like, they're part of your community
Mhm.
and they might not feel welcome. I have no idea. I've not gotten to talk to her. Her name is Gypsy. I've not gotten to talk to her about how she's been accepted. She still has the storefront. I know she does yoga sessions, but like, make them feel welcome. Bring them like a little plant or like the extra
Yeah.
cookies you have in the cabinet. You know what I mean?
Right,
Something
right.
sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Where I am, I feel like there's a lot more shops popping up now, but I feel like there weren't so many like some years ago. If you go into like the trendy towns, like you'll find a lot of like metaphysical shops. It's starting to become more of a franchise now. There's one in Red Bank and there's one in Clark or Cranford, not too far from where I work. But it's a shop called Witch Baby, and it's called Witch Baby Soap, and it's basically a soap shop for like witches.
Cute.
Like a bath and body shop, but for witches. And the
Cute.
tagline is "Get naked, do witchcraft." How adorable is that? Isn't that adorable?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I can get down
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
So yeah, there's little shops and little trendy centers of town that pop up here and there, and I always try to go and make a purchase and just support. the local
Yeah.
businesses, you know?
Yeah. Awesome.
What is the number 6 we're on? So yeah, attend or donate to your local pagan pride day. Chances are there is one within driving distance of anyone reading this, and to find out when and where, you can visit paganpride.org. There is a thing called the Lunar Fair in New Jersey.
Ooh.
This is fairly new. I want to say in the past like 2 or 3 years or so, this has been a thing. And it's gotten so big now. When we went to Salem, we were actually chatting with one of the vendors that we met up in Salem, and
Mm-hmm.
she was actually telling me about Lunar Fair. She's like, "Oh, you're from New Jersey? Have you been to Lunar Fair?" I was like,
Whoa.
"Holy shit, you know about Lunar Fair?"
Wow.
And it's crazy that it's like it's grown such a following in such a short amount of time. I've yet to go to one, because they are kind of far. They're more like South Jersey, kind of like North Jersey a little
Okay.
more. So, but I
Yeah.
definitely want to make it to one of them because I heard that they're really freaking cool.
That's awesome. I think
Yeah.
our closest one is the Charlotte Pagan Pride, but that's still like over an hour from me.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's tons of like pagan pride stuff in New York City because New York is only like an hour or so from me, like a train ride.
Have you gone to that Enchantments yet? Is that what it's
No.
called?
Yeah, I've never gone, but if you ever
Go for the both of us, please.
make your way to New York, we'll go. We'll make a
Don't
trip.
wait on me.
No, no, wait. I'm not gonna. Bitch, I don't wait for you. No, I'm saying if you're ever in New Jersey and you're ever in the area or in my neck of the woods, we'll have to
Cool.
make a trip.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We could do like a walking tour of all the places Alice Hoffman talks about in Rules of Magic.
let's do it. Done.
Okay, cool.
Done deal.
All right.
All right, it's a lot of walking. New York is bigger than you
I
think.
know. I know.
For
I've
such a
walked
small
it.
island, it's freaking huge.
Oh wait, I gotta show you this. This is it. But my friend and I love Newsies. This is Caitlin, and we did the Brooklyn Bridge. We walked all the way
Oh,
across. We
wait,
walked through Chelsea and all that.
you've been
And
to New
yeah, but a couple
York?
times.
Okay,
Couple
cool.
times.
Cool. All right, so it's not your first rodeo.
Nah.
But it's cool. There's so many places in New York that every time feels like your first time. You don't have to ever do the same
Feels like the
twice.
first time.
Yeah, we'll have to do a New York trip if you
Okay.
ever in my way.
Okay.
Yeah, so it says next time you are at a bookstore or library, march right up to the counter and ask where you could find books on Wicca and paganism, and do not whisper. I have to say I'm totally guilty of doing this when I was probably in 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah.
I had just seen The Craft and I wanted to know everything there was about witchcraft.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would go and just sit in the library and go sit up in my little esoteric metaphysical section, and I would take out those books. And I can't
Wow.
tell you how many weird looks I got from people checking me out all the
Oh my
time.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I would check books out and I would just get looks from the librarian, like, you know, that like that upward look with through those
Through the
bifocal
glasses.
glasses. Yes. I will get all those looks all the time.
They're stocking these books, woman. Like, you
I
know
know.
what's out there. I will
Right.
like like, what are they calling it now? The thing that puts the wrinkle in your brain or that changes your makeup, your chemistry makeup. When we
Yeah.
were in, did you all ever, you know that there's like the science fair? Did y'all ever have to do the history fair?
I don't ever remember a history fair.
Okay, so it's basically what it sounds like. You pick a historical topic, you do a whole presentation in like one of those trifold things on it.
Yeah, like a diorama or something like
A
that.
diorama. I was part of two other people.
Okay.
We got to do it on the Salem witch trials.
Oh, fuck. That's awesome.
And this was after I watched The Craft and Practical Magic. Girl.
Oh,
So
that's
we
awesome.
took one of those bifold, trifold things. We bent it backwards to make a square and then stacked another one on top of it and put it on a lazy Susan so it spun, which is cool. But the
brilliant.
coolest thing was we got to go, I don't remember. My friend Caitlin would remember. We got to go to like the state museum, which had like all the state library, excuse me, had all these different floors and like the ladders. And I was just checking all these books out on witchcraft and like the Salem witch trials. And I was sitting there. It was a dream. That was like the happiest time, just sitting there with my little, you had to go make Xerox copies.
How dark academia is that?
I know, I was like in 8th grade. It was so fun.
Yeah, my little town library, because I'm in a very small town, it was not very it wasn't like that at all, like, the ladder and like the dark library. It was kind of just like it seemed like a VFW with just shelves. That's what my
A
library felt
bar.
like. Yeah. It was a cute little quaint little library. They have since
Yeah.
renovated it, and I think it looks sterile and really
Oh.
personable
This
now.
wasn't like the town library. This was like
Oh,
like the state
okay. The
library. Like,
catacombs.
yeah, right. Like a
Got it.
college level library.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Or like the library in Ghostbusters. Remember that library?
I don't. I'm sorry. Ghostbuster
Stina, you're killing
library.
me.
I know. I'm sorry.
Killing me.
Library scene.
I'm too old. I'm too old for this.
No, you're not. We get different perspectives. I just always disappoint you because I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. You go watch that movie. Go
Okay.
refresh. Refresh.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
remember
that's
that?
pretty. That's
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah.
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 Like libraries like that, just like they're fascinating, but they also like scare the shit out of me because I'm like, what if I go down there? It's going to be some just like clear person just reading a fucking book.
A clear person.
A ghost.
They prefer the term ghost. Okay.
I was trying to be politically correct.
Yeah, really.
Oh my God.
You
Okay.
get just take us to number 8, please.
Okay. All right. So choose the most open-minded family member that you can find and tell them. Find out how they think other members. It's about we're hitting that wall now. We're starting to get delirious. How they think other members of the family might react.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
Oh my God. All right. So yeah, so basically this what this is saying is just kind of scope out, put your feelers out, see which one of your family members is the most chill about this and kind of go to them first and
Yes.
yeah, kind of test the waters with them first, you know.
Yes. Tell the librarian.
Tell the librarian. Or
Is this
you
the
can
new Death Watch Beetle episode? My
this
God.
this might be yeah. Also it's saying read a pagan book in public.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like that's not really much shock value anymore with witch talk flying around. And like I said
Yeah.
before, all of these books are up front and center in Barnes and Noble now. Like there is no hiding this shit anymore. Nobody cares. This is it's it's pretty mainstream at this point. I don't feel like you really have to hide reading these books anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
And then the last thing on this list is attend local discussion groups to connect with other pagans who struggle with hiding their faith. Can't find one? Then start one. Chances are there are other pagans in your midst wishing that there was one that they could join to. And I have to say that that's absolutely true. You'd be surprised like who would come out of the woodwork for a group like that. And it's nice to have that support. And this goes back to, the end of the movie Practical Magic when all the women get together and they just kind of connect over that special gift that they all have. Because there's a little witch in all of us.
That's right. Yeah. So, the important thing to remember is that when you take these steps, you may be the only pagan someone has ever come in contact with. Okay. So keep that in mind. You're representing all of us. So be friendly, try not to be confrontational. And you got to try to be able to explain what paganism is and isn't. In clear, simple terms without being defensive. So hold your head up high and know that you are within your rights to have your beliefs and should not be forced to hide it.
Yeah.
While it is necessary in plenty of cases to remain secretive when you are a pagan for some very real reasons, as we discussed earlier, all of us can look at this list and see at least one step we can take. So every time society really sees us, we not only honor those who have sacrificed for our freedoms, we shine a light on every pagan everywhere, and the whole pagan community benefits.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, those are some good steps to just kind of ease you into, I guess, society and kind of not shine a light, but like, just be who you are and being able to just be open with what you believe.
Because life is too short. Are you going to live a little or are you going to live a lot? Don't let this hold you back.
Yeah, what's that Aunt Isabel said, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, drink that courage tea. Don't drink that caution tea.
Yeah.
Don't drink that caution bullshit. Nobody wants that shit.
No.
All right, man. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to chat about our own experiences and struggles coming into our own power as young little witches. And then we have 10 introspective questions to owning your own inner power and the term witch. So we'll be right back. You're listening to Magnolia Street Podcast. Hey, we're back. So now we're going to talk about our own experiences of being closeted witches through our adolescence. And so we're gonna just go through, I came up with 10 introspective questions that we can kind of like ask ourselves and just get a kind of like a discussion going just about our own experiences. And also these can also serve as journal prompts for our listeners as well. So if you guys want to reflect on your own magical journeys and coming to your own as a witch and coming out of your own broom closet, feel free to use these questions and answering. You can write in your own journals and answer these in your own journals. Share your answers with us. If you'd like to weigh in on the discussion, you can email anything to us at magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com. Or leave us a voicemail. We have a voicemail line in the show notes down below, so we would love to hear your beautiful voices, and we would love to play them on the show as well if you have a story you'd like to chat with us about. So
Good idea.
And I'm also planning on adding these questions kind of like as a journaling worksheet, like PDF printable file for our Patreon. So if you want to head over to Patreon after this episode, you can get this worksheet and just be a little introspective on your own if you want to be with these. So I guess the first one me and Christina are going to chat about a little bit here. So when did you know you were a witch, and was there any specific aha moment that led you to this discovery?
You want to go first? I'll have to think about that.
All right. So basically, okay, so I told you that I saw the craft in like 7th or 8th grade, and that kind of like, it interested me, it piqued my interest, it got me wanting to do research and all that, right? But also at the same time, I was in CCD. Like my parents put me in that like the Catholic or Christianity school, after hours. So we kind of like, it was like an hour-long class every Wednesday, and we had to complete the sacraments, right? We were already baptized as children, most of us anyway that were there. Then you make your communion when you're like 3rd grade or something like that, and then by the time you are in, I think maybe 7th grade, I think it was 7th grade, you start getting ready to make your confirmation, right? So when you make your confirmation, I don't know about for you, because you went to Catholic school, did you have to do like an interview with a priest and answer a certain set of questions in the right way to be able to even like attend your confirmation ceremony?
I did not like that. I did not feel safe sitting alone in that room.
100%. Okay, so this is basically my experience. So I was in my school, I went to a public school. So after school, our school was putting on a talent show. So after school, I would, go to practice, and, me and my friends we did our little choreography routine, blah, blah, blah. So I remember it was like dress rehearsal, and my mom picked me up. She's like, you have your confirmation interview. You have to go. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, I just want to dance.
All right, Kevin Bacon.
I want to fucking dance. Let me get my foot loose on. What the fuck, Mom? So, so she dragged me to this fucking confirmation interview against my freaking will, and it's just me and the priest sitting there, and he's asking me all these questions I don't give a shit about. And I got every single one of them wrong, and I'm like,
oh no.
Christina, this was such a joke to me. Like, I freaking hated it. I hated it. It was such a joke to me. So I like, the whole time I was doing this interview, I'm like, I just want to be at my dress rehearsal. I just want to fucking dance. Let me go do my shit that I actually enjoy doing. Why am I here? I'm wasting your time. You're wasting my time. Let me get the fuck out of here. I was trying to like jailbreak out of here so hard. So I got all the questions wrong. And
that's so funny.
Yeah. And then like, I guess my mom picked me up. I don't remember what happened after that, but I'm sure she was probably like, so how did it go? Like, fuck that shit. I didn't get anything right. Whatever. So I don't know how long after, but this was like, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a week or two after. It was getting closer to the confirmation, right? The actual ceremony. So like the group, my class, like our whole group of kids went into the church, because the CCD classes are held in like, the actual school. And then you have the church in like the separate building.
Yeah.
So we went to the church, and the whole class was there. And my teacher was different than the priest that asked me the questions.
Yeah.
Right. So my teacher had no idea like what my, I guess my test results were or whatever till he got
my test results.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound so freaking ridiculous?
Yeah.
Like why do we have test results for, what we believe
a faith that we don't particularly want to be in?
Exactly. So I just thought the whole thing was just so freaking ridiculous. And even me as like a 7th grader, I realized this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe it's young to some people, but I learned very early on that I was like, this religion is bullshit. I don't want to be here. So I don't know. Maybe this isn't everybody's experience, but this is my experience,
For sure. That's what this segment is. Segment number 3 is just us.
And this is my truth. So if you don't like it, I have nothing to say to you, but I'm sure you have your own experiences. But again, we would love to hear them. So, and I don't want to, bash anybody's religion if that's what they truly believe, but I knew that it was not for me at that time. And then so we're like in this church, and he's we're going through the motions of the ceremony, like who's standing where, who's leading the line down to the the front of the pew in the front row, basically putting us in order of how we should walk down.
It's always shortest to tallest.
I was always the first one, always.
I was always the first one because my last name starts with B-A-B.
And I'm still C, so either way I'm in front.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So we're all staying there, and I remember my teacher just being like, yeah, everybody except for one person in this class is going to be making their confirmation.
You were like, thank God. Thank Goddess.
But he singled me out in front of the whole class, and I was so freaking embarrassed.
That's what Catholicism is, girl.
Shame. Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah. Like, why not friggin' just like strip me naked and pour a bucket of paint and chicken feathers on me? Like, at that point,
that would be a waste of chicken feathers.
But like, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, this religion that's supposed to be like a safe place, like, oh, come to Jesus, come, like, God loves you. Like, okay, but then why am I being humiliated in his house?
Yeah.
So that was it for me. That was it for me. I remember standing there. I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, after I make he said I wasn't making my confirmation, but my mom went in there, and no pun intended, she fucking raised hell. She raised hell. She was like, my daughter is
go Dee.
Yeah, Dee. Yeah. So she went in there and she told off my teacher, and so I ended up making my confirmation. But what
was your confirmation name?
Gabriella.
Oh, that's pretty.
And
it goes with the Italian thing.
Yeah, but isn't it supposed to be a saint?
There's no Saint Gabriella? Oh, like Saint Gabriel or Angel Gabriel?
I put a spin on the male angel Gabriel. They let me do that.
Wow.
I'm really surprised they let me do that.
Whoa.
So that's
incredible.
So my confirmation is Gabriella in honor of the Archangel Michael. Gabriel. See, I can't even get the names right. God,
what's your actual middle name?
Marie.
Okay, so is mine.
Come on. European white girl.
Justina Marie and Christina Marie. I can't believe we have the same middle name. Or
Anne.
Anne.
Or
Elizabeth.
Rose. They're all the
funny.
same. So that was my experience. And I told my mom after that point, I was like, I will make this confirmation for you, but I'm done with this. I'm done with it after this.
Wow.
And she still just every now and then she still sends me text messages like, don't forget to get your ashes. And I'm just like, Ma, I'm not a Catholic anymore. Stop trying.
Yeah, it's a holy day of obligation.
Yeah. And she's like, don't forget to not eat meat. It's Friday. And I'm like, dude,
I'm eating nuggies right now.
I'm eating my nuggies.
Incredible.
And this is why she tells me if I step foot into in a Catholic church, I will burst into flames.
Yeah.
We
can joke about it now.
We've arrived at this place where we can joke about it now, and it is funny. But
was it a point of contention for a while?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
100%. And like, I always told her I'm not getting married in a Catholic church, and I didn't.
Good on you, dude.
So man, I stick to my guns,
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
All right, what was the question? Let me see here. What was the specific point in time that led to your discovery? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My story was so long and drawn out, but like I've harbored on that for years.
No, it's how you got here. That stepping stone, that Y in the road, that crossroads that led you here.
That public humiliation, like, was really what sealed the deal for me. And I was like, this
this shouldn't be how I feel like worshiping a higher power. Like, shouldn't feel ick,
Yeah. Yeah.
I should want to, have something to believe in that's beautiful and that's something that's all mine.
Yeah, mine is kind of similar. It did stem from like a grade school. So mine's a little different too, in that I kind of ebbed and flowed back and forth for a long time.
Okay.
And but the initial like what the fuck like moment happened in I don't know, I was probably fourth, fifth, sixth grade, and I was told that I must have confided in somebody older, one of the teachers or the nun or somebody at my school, and said, I had prayed to Mary to help me with XYZ, and they said you can't pray to Mary, you can only ask her to bring messages to Jesus. And I was like, the fuck. Like,
right, because she's a woman.
yeah,
How sexist
exactly.
is that?
I know. So that to me was like, but I love her and I feel
Yeah.
she's the mother and I feel safe with her. And why can't I do that? So
Yeah.
that was like the little like, that's kind of messed up.
That's not right.
And then the whole thing with like watching Practical Magic and the craft. So then that kind of flowed that way.
Mhm.
And then I think through high school, I kind of flowed back. I had a boyfriend at the time that was psychotic, like very fundamentalist Christian.
Oh,
And
oh
it
no.
just kind of turned very ugly very fast. This is at the point of time that I was haunted. I don't know if I talked to you about that before, but I was
Can we?
haunted before.
Oh, this if there's a segment to talk about it, you could talk about it now. I want to know.
Oh, it's really
And I'm
long though.
sure.
So how about we do a bonus episode?
Okay, we'll do a bonus episode, but I'm sure our listeners want to know too.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Is that you
very
piqued my interest?
okay. Okay, cool. So I did get married in a Catholic church because my grandpa was like, I'm not coming unless you get married in a Catholic church. There's that Catholic guilt. And then when I was married, we moved to California and I kind of got back into, not back into, there was a woman in our apartment complex who did belly dancing. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, I want to check that out. So this woman, stunning, like beautiful, ageless woman I still talk to today, but she also was into like yoga, meditation, different forms of like breathing exercises and stuff like that. So I started to hang out with her and I started doing that shit at home. My husband at the time kind of scoffed at it, and I was like, all right, I'll put that on the back burner for a while. And I really didn't come back around to this until the divorce. And I think it wasn't long after that I started the YouTube.
Right.
But any thought of like I'm a witch probably happened in high school when my friend Sally and I would get together and do spells and witchcraft, and like stuff would happen, and it was really cool. And to know, like, I would know when she would call, like the phone rang. This was corded phones, no caller ID, and like I knew, and it was her, which was cool. And just having, I was like, we have something. There's something really special about our relationship and really magical. So that's the first time I think I felt like magic, but just also growing up with like the woods and the forest right there, and just always being a dirt kid outside.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
We were always running through the woods, 100%.
Yeah. My confirmation name was Joan, by the way.
That's my grandma's name.
Because she's a badass.
She was a badass, dude.
Was she a witch? She was here in Angels and Spirit Guides.
Who?
Joan of Arc.
Oh, Joan of Arc.
Your grandma.
I was like, wait, my grandma? Maybe she was. I don't know. She'd be the first one to flip you off. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
She would be the first one in a room to tell you to go fuck yourself. I love her so much. I miss her. She's such a badass, dude.
It was just being told that I could not speak. Basically, I could not speak to this higher deity that I had always been told was there to support and love me. Right. You can't talk to them.
Like, what?
Excuse me?
Why? Is her voicemail full? Like, what?
She's out of office.
She's on vacation. She's got her autoresponder on.
Yeah, so that was the very first thing. And I was young. I was really young when that happened. Yeah.
So what were some of the fears or negative connotations associated with witchcraft amongst peers or family growing up?
Take it away.
I'm sure like I said, I have that one aunt that still, if she knew the full spectrum of things, she'd be like, what the fuck, Jess? But this, when I was in like 6th grade, this doesn't really have anything to do with witchcraft per se. Like specifically, but it is a little woo-woo, and it still makes me and my family laugh to this day. I had a Halloween party.
Yeah.
I was in like 6th grade, and my friend Angela let me borrow her Ouija board.
Yeah.
And because she couldn't come to the party, she had to, like, I guess go to something or other that day, but she let me borrow the board game. The game, I'm saying game like it's actually a game. No, that shit.
Hasbro owns that
Right,
shit.
right. Like, that shit ain't no game. If you're summoning demons, I'm sorry, that's not a fun game. So she let me borrow the Ouija board for the party, and there were, like, I don't know, maybe 20 kids in my parents' small little garage, right?
Wow.
All the parents were in the kitchen. They weren't hanging out with the kids in the garage. We were in the garage playing, we were bombing for apples, and then somebody was like, let's
Cute.
break out the Ouija board. It was probably me.
It was probably you.
Probably me. But I just remember, like, we were playing, and it might have been a kid. I don't remember. I don't remember there being anybody by the light switch, but the fucking lights went out.
It was one of the parents.
It was, well, no, there were no parents in there. All the parents were out in the kitchen.
They didn't crack the door open and just click.
Yeah. They were drinking their espresso. The lights went out, and all, like, 20 kids came screaming out of the garage and into the kitchen, like,
Wow.
telling all the adults that the lights just went out. And my aunt
Wow.
caught wind of it. She caught wind of it, like the really the Jesus one, and she's like, get that shit out of his house. She took
Wow.
the Ouija board, and I'm pretty sure she, like, tore it out of my hands, and she opened the side door, and it wasn't even mine, right? It was my friend's, and she threw it over the fence.
Whoa, your poor neighbor.
She threw it over the fence. Yeah. I was like, that's not mine, it's my friend. She's like, I don't care, I don't want it in this house. So it stayed out
Wow.
there. It stayed out there all night. And I had to explain to my friend why the board was had like that wet dew on it from, like, sitting there overnight. And I'm like, sorry, man, my aunt made me throw it outside because we were summoning some demons.
Maybe the moonlight that night, like, helped cleanse those demons out of there.
Maybe.
Oh, jeez.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even remember the day of the party. I'm trying to, like, see if I can, like, go back to, like, 1990, what was it, 95 or 96, when we had the party, just to see what phase the moon was in at that time. But it's so funny because that same aunt, she helped me make my wedding invitations, and our wedding invitations, we had a Halloween wedding, right?
Yeah.
Our wedding invitations were Ouija board themed.
No shit.
I'm not even joking you.
What the
But I
hell?
have to
Good
say-
for you.
So I have to say, like, if it's hilarious how it came full circle, but
Yeah.
like, we can laugh about it now. Like, she's
That's
cool.
so funny.
We can laugh about it now.
Good. That's because you're older.
Right,
You're not a minor, as we
Right.
discussed.
Right.
Excuse me.
So just, like, I don't know, like, it's stuff like that, like the Ouija board. I remember growing up, my mom hated that I even read my metaphysical books. She would not let me have tarot cards. I didn't get tarot cards until I was in my 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't even get my
Damn.
first tarot deck until, like, I was probably like 23 or 24 years old.
Mhm.
For the longest time, she was really against the tarot. She thought it was, like, satanic, demonic, whatever. And now guess who asks me for tarot readings all the fucking
That's right. I know. Don't I know it? That is so funny.
But yeah, that's all I can think of personally.
So definitely, yeah, growing up in the Catholic household, I think I mentioned in, like, almost the very first episode, my mom finding the grimoire that my friend and I had made. I kept it in a spot in my room, and it's not like she took it out and left it in my room. She just took it and put it in her room. And I was looking for something else in her room and saw she had it on the bed. And I was like, I'm fucked.
So wait, so were you more mad, or did you feel more, like,
I was terrified
scared that she was gonna whoop your ass?
I was worried she was gonna destroy it, and she didn't, I was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
But that's saying something. But later I found out my mama, my great aunt, isn't this framed picture behind me? Her and her mom used to do palm readings and tea leaf readings, and I'm like,
wait,
you
your
son of
mom
a
knew
gun.
that?
Yeah.
And how does your mom feel about her ancestors doing that?
She didn't tell me until I was much older.
But she knew about it. But
Yeah.
like, did she ever tell you how she felt about them being involved in?
She's never told me how she felt about them. I know she adored my aunt Blanche. She was still alive when I was young. She was my great great aunt. She was my grandmother's aunt.
Mhm.
So is that my great great aunt?
Your grandmother's aunt. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I don't know if she ever voiced an opinion either way about it, but she is interested in, like, getting tarot readings now. I think she has a more fun, I guess, outlook on it. I don't think she takes it too
It's a
seriously.
novelty to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
she respects that. I like it.
Right.
But I do have those family members that I have been told, yeah, I'm going to hell and to repent, and I'm worried for your soul. And I'm like, dude, we don't believe in hell. Like,
Yeah.
you take care of you.
You do
I
you.
take care of me. You do you, buckaroo.
Too funny.
So, what are some activities you did as a young witch to nurture your practice and knowledge within your craft?
You want to go first?
No, I was reading it for you. I didn't know if you
Oh.
felt weird about reading the question and then having to answer the question for yourself.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm just interviewing myself at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I pretty much kind of said a little bit before, like, I would go to the library, I would take out books, I would get the side eye from the librarian checking my books out. But aside from that, again, I was in the woods a lot, like as a kid. I would go into the woods with my little satchel of my little potion bottles, and I would just sit there. I would sit there and I would chant, and I would, just be one with nature. When I was younger, there was a house, like maybe a block or two away from my house, and they had horses. They had
Babies.
horses. My town used to be a lot more rural. It's become a lot more suburban now. But there used to be horses. There used to be a lot more wooded area to gallivant through, ride my bike through. A lot more deer, bunnies, deer, you name it. Like, we would come across them all the time in the woods, and we still see them from time to time. But when you're in the woods, it's a little bit different. They've since torn those woods down, and now it's like mini mansions, and it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's sad. It's sad going back to my old neighborhood and seeing mansions, like little mansions that nobody can friggin' afford in this town.
Yeah. Wow.
Where where my safe haven used to be, and it's so sad. But that's what I used to do as a kid. I used to just go in the woods and chant and go visit my neighbors' horses and feed them carrots and just sit. I would sit right in front of the like little horse pen, and I would just sit there and like journal or just be at one with nature and spirit. And even when my cousins are from North Carolina, they would come up sometimes, and we would do that. That's what we would do. We would go into nature, go hang out with horses, and just
love it.
Yeah, do our witchy little stuff. Witchy
You're
little
an
kid.
all American girl.
Exactly. So anything else that you did as a kid?
Dude, I used to crawl inside a tree.
Inside of a tree?
Well, there was like a pine tree. It was actually one pine tree that turned into two, right?
Okay.
So it had all the big boughs, and there was like a tiny little hole that I could crawl into, and all the boughs would be like around me, and I would sit in there for hours and like draw or make little stick fairy houses and like just covered in sap and bugs. You know what I mean? But I love sitting in there. I don't think that tree's there anymore. It was in my parents' front yard. But yeah, like climbing trees and just sitting in them when like the wind's blowing and you're blowing around. How much more connected to nature can you get? And it's
100%.
just awful that as adults we lose that, unfortunately, a lot of the time because A, jobs, but B, things do get built up, like you said.
Yep. Yeah. Did I ever tell you that my childhood tree, they chopped it down?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did a whole I think I did a private YouTube video on it. I think I might have put it on my private Patreon, like on my Patreon page. I'm just basically bawling in this entire video, just like crying. Like, I had such a connection and bond with this tree. I climbed it my entire childhood. I would go to the tippy top and like just like look out and see like how far down the street I could see from the very, very top. And then the lady who lived next door, she passed away. And then the people on the corner, because they're attached units, the people on the corner ended up buying her house and renting it out. So they were kind of like the landlords. They lived on the end, but then they would like rent out that lady's house. So they actually ended up chopping the tree. Well, first they started with like a few branches, they started pruning it, and then eventually after I moved out and I moved into this house, like I went back like, I don't know, maybe a month later, and the tree was just gone. I was like, my heart dropped into my stomach. I was like, are you kidding me?
I'm sorry.
It's so sad.
You don't know, unfortunately, though, like if that tree was diseased. We had a tree we had to take down that was here forever, and it didn't look like anything was wrong with it. But a while ago, I guess before we lived here, it was hit by lightning and dying from the inside. And we couldn't have it come down on the house. So I don't know if it upset the neighbors or not, but I was upset. I was, nothing like yours. Nothing like yours.
Right. Did you ever see, I think I saw it in like the news a while ago, Ron Jeremy, the porn star.
What?
The Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, no, you had me at Ron Jeremy. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I read in some article that he was basically trying to save his childhood tree from getting cut down.
What?
So Google it, Google it. Yeah. There was like a
Okay.
thing where he was trying to keep his childhood tree from getting cut down. And I just thought it was like the most, not that it was like hilarious, but I just think coming from a porn star, like
I
you
know. Hey, porn
don't-
stars are people too.
exactly, but like you don't think of like that childhood innocence, like of like just like a child coming from somebody like Ron Jeremy. I just thought that was hysterical, but at the same time endearing. I was like, I felt for him because I was like, I feel your pain. They cut mine down too.
Let me look it up really quick.
Yeah,
Ron. Oh man, it's gonna pull up all this weird stuff. Ron
probably. Just type in Ron Jeremy childhood tree. Maybe maybe something will pop up.
Tree. Oh my god, he's like kissing it. That is so superstar.
Isn't it sad?
Ugh.
So sad.
Oh, he's gross.
Yeah, he is gross. I met him once.
You did not.
I met him once, yeah.
What the where?
When I was out in LA, I played this music showcase and they kind of billed him as like this like main attraction. I'm like, why fucking Ron Jeremy out of all people?
Wow.
But I remember I was like, I ain't leaving here till I fucking meet Ron Jeremy.
Seriously?
Like, well, because like, you know, I had just gone out to LA. I was like, I just want to meet a celebrity before I freaking go home. So he came in and he had like, you know, I don't know, maybe a group of people around him. And he was like so out of it. He was so like drugged up on something. He was like super dazed, super out there. But like me and my friends, we all jumped in the picture and we're like taking a picture with him.
Do you have that picture?
I do. I'll have to send it to you.
Put that in our after hours notes for this, please.
It's hysterical. But yeah, I have a picture with Ron Jeremy. And it was just like a weird, like I played my set, right? And then I guess he came in like toward the end of the night when I was already leaving. He was on his way into the club and I was on my way out. And we just kind of like grabbed him for a picture and then we just bounced.
Dude, that is so crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, definitely share that picture.
You never knew who you're gonna meet out in LA.
In LA, for sure.
It's pretty kooky out there.
Before we scoot on to the next question, I just wanted to say, like, you know those pictures of how like the human body emulates nature?
Mm-hmm.
I just learned that the word ramification actually comes from the branching off of like two veins, or like how a tree grows. If the tree goes up, a ramification is that offshoot branch and how it keeps offshooting. So I think that's so, and it's a consequence of the growth. You know, that offshoot is a consequence of that continuous growth. Growth. I just think it's really cool that word all is linked between our bodies and nature also, which I think is really neat. There you go.
That is
etymology.
Neat. Etymology.
So then what age were you when you came out of the broom closet, and how did it go?
I don't that's such a weird question because
you wrote the question.
I know I came up with the question, but it's a valid question. Like it really forces you to kind of be introspective and kind of really think about like these milestone moments in your past, you know?
Excuse me.
I think I want to say I just still feel like I never really officially was like, I'm a witch. I never had that Sally, like, you know, I never pulled any kind of family member aside and be like, listen, I want to tell you that I'm going to call the quarters tonight at 8:00. Like, it was never like that. Like, it was like, you know, I either got busted playing the Ouija board or I got busted with some tarot cards and I got slapped on the wrist.
Yeah.
And I was sent to CCD and it's like, you're going to make your confirmation whether you like it or not.
Repent.
You're not going to dance. You're going to make your confirmation.
You're not going to. Somebody make that a meme. You're not going to dance. You're going to make your confirmation.
I just wanted to be Kevin fucking Bacon and they wouldn't let me.
Oh, fuck.
Anyway, but I think, honestly, if I really think about it, I'm going to say when I made my Bohemian Magic YouTube channel, probably would have been my like official, like, here I am, here's some witchy content for you. Like, well, like that's just what I do now.
Okay.
But like I also wouldn't call that coming out of the broom closet though, because I also did it under a name other than my own, because I kind of wanted to still shield it from like prying eyes for people who are in my immediate friend circle in real life, like my family, my friends, whatever. Like I still wasn't really gung-ho about people finding that content. So it was kind of like a gradual thing. Like every now and then I'll post one of those Bohemian Magic videos to my personal
Okay.
Facebook page, like every now and then.
And who
whoever,
was probably the first one to acknowledge that?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really put a timestamp on any person or specific comment per se, because you know what, I discount a lot of the negative feedback and I don't listen to any of that. I don't, because I
Good
feel
on
like
you.
it prohibits me from just being happy and being who I am. So
Mhm.
fuck those people, fuck the haters,
Yep.
and you know, fuck all those people who are gonna tell me I'm gonna go to hell, because guess what? I'll probably meet you there because you probably have more skeletons in your closet than I do.
Ain't that the truth?
So that's it. That's
Yeah.
it, man. So yeah, I would have to say probably my YouTube channel would be the closest thing to that, like, not that I said it boldly like I'm a
Mhm.
witch, but like,
Mhm.
you know, it's like, you know, if you want to learn how to ease your coughing with some lavender and some rosemary oil, here's how to do it. Like, you know, I did it in a very homeopathic way. So I eased into it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, some gardening tips. Here you go.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
cooking tips. Here you go. You want to make some golden milk, some with some turmeric? Here you go.
What the hell's golden milk?
It's like that it's supposed to be good for like respiratory
Oh, I could have
and
used
cold
that 3 months
colds and
ago.
coughs. I didn't notice any difference when I only drank it the
Oh,
once. But
at least
it's
you're an honest witch.
well, yeah, it's supposed to be very good for your cough, but I don't think it's supposed to be very good for your arteries, because it's literally
Oh.
just like coconut oil and just oil that you're supposed to drink. And I'm just like,
Oh, damn.
this doesn't sound good. This don't
See,
sound healthy. You know, stuff like that. Just homeopathic garden stuff, little craft projects for the season. Again, back to the seasonal thing. I think that's when I started becoming a very seasonal witch, when I started doing my YouTube channel and just being in touch with the seasons and showing other people how they can do the same. Yeah, here. All right, so now it's your turn.
okay.
When out of the room closet, how'd you do it?
My story is pretty similar to yours. To tell you the truth, dude, like I'm not out of the broom closet with like a lot of my family. Like they know like
Same.
I'm weird. So here's the
Same.
thing. Here's the thing. So same thing goes along with like making the YouTube, like trying to figure out where I was on this path, but doing it under a different name. I
Yeah.
wanted other people, I knew it was a forum where other people would come and share their like-minded stories
Right.
and get to know me, but my family might not find me, which
Right.
was fine. And then like that, my family knew for forever, for my whole life, that I had interest in other stuff, metaphysical stuff. My mom knew about the witchcraft then, and then I, you know, kind of fell out of it, came back to it, but for a long time, nobody knew I had that YouTube. And I don't remember who the first person was that told. It was either my younger brother or my best friend Caitlin, you know, and both of them were like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I think I was more hesitant about telling them I had a YouTube than I was telling them that I was pagan.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, this is not anything I'm ever going to tell my grandfather, you
Right.
know, and I'm not going to come out to my dad, and like, there's no reason for it. Like, they know I'm a good person. They know I honor the seasons, and they know I like divination and my interests are in the occult. And that's all. They don't need, I don't need, just like for anybody else, I don't need you to tell me you're a Christian. Just be a good
Exactly.
person, care for
Right.
each other. I don't need to come out with the label,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
100%.
Yeah, just coming out to like very slowly to my friends. I came out to Sally. Probably she was like, she knew, like she was the one I did witchcraft with. She just didn't know I had this whole YouTube community backing me at the time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I like it mattered. It doesn't matter to most people as long as you're the same person they know and love and they see you thriving. I think it's all good.
Yeah. I can't even tell you what any of the girls that I knew in high school are doing at this point in their lives, except for my one friend, Kristen. Like like the two of us, the one whose wedding I went to in Croatia.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. She was like one of the main girls that I'm still friends with from middle school and high school to this day. But she was one of the ones that we kind of like went down that little magical path together.
Yeah. Yeah,
We were
yeah.
kind of both into the same thing at around the same time, and she was actually one of the girls in my dance, my little dance routine that we were practicing for the talent show when I had to go.
The CCD talent show. That, yeah.
Yeah. She was in my group. She was in my talent
Cute.
show group. So, yeah, we have a rich history.
Cute.
So yeah, she's probably one of the only ones that, I can think of that even know and definitely don't care, because she was into all the same stuff that I was into.
Yeah.
But
They do remind, parents will remind me that Advent's here, Lent's
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I always say, like, Jesus and I are cool. We just agreed to see other people. My dad kind of skirts around the word witch by calling me wench, which I don't think is any better. He's like, how's it going, wench?
That just means you like serve beer to like
I know. I
Renaissance
don't know how I feel about it. Yeah.
Christina, do you work at Renaissance Fair?
Dude, I would have loved to work at Renaissance Fair.
Right?
I
When
would have
people
loved
tip
to.
you go, huzzah!
Dude, I love the Ren Fair. That's where I had my bachelorette party, and you just get treated like royalty. You don't, it does not even have to be your bachelorette party. Just stick a
No.
sash on you that says bachelorette on it.
Hey,
You're in.
it's not like you need a driver's license to prove anything, right? Well, it's not like they need your birthday. It's a
Yeah,
fucking
exactly. So I think that's all I have to say about that part. I just want to be, my family knows. Unfortunately, my grandpa's not doing so good. So he's really like the last person that I would be worried about. But he would just pray for me,
Yeah, that's all they can do, right?
That's all he can do. He's 92. What do you want?
Listen, if somebody wants to pray for me, be my
I'll
guest.
take them.
I'll take prayers. I will take prayers. Just can you pray for like $1 million for me?
Give me all the help, please.
Because again, as we learned before, prayer is really just law of attraction.
It's magic.
It is just law of attraction with Jesus.
With Jesus. Sometimes. What were the reactions of those you feared telling most?
I don't know. Like, I think the main person, not that I like actually come out and said like I'm a witch. Like, again, I never really had that Sally moment. But probably like my mom, like just kind of like reiterating to her after attempt, her trying to get me to go back to the church. I'm just like, just after I told her I was done with making my confirmation, after you're pretty much like an adult at that point in the eyes of the Catholic Church, right? Because right after that
comes marriage.
Right after that testament, is that the right sacrament? Yes, after that sacrament is marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you're an adult in the church's eyes. You're able to make your own decisions. And my decision was to friggin' leave. So
good for you. Hell yeah.
But like, I felt like for a long time after that, I was still only like 14, 15 years old. And of course, your parents are going to want to have some bearing or some say on what you do with your life or how you live your life. If you live under their roof, you abide by their rules, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. It was just kind of like me reiterating, kind of like, no, Ma, I'm not going to do Lent. I'm not going to Ash Wednesday. Like, I'm not going to do all these things that you're expecting me to do because that's not really what I believe anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an adult now. Like, I can make my own decisions. And, I think, she's probably hurt or was hurt by it, but like, we've come to an understanding. Like, she knows who I am as an adult. I know who she is. I don't try to, sway her beliefs. She might try to sway mine, but she knows she's not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, she's like the only real one that like I know really gives a shit. I'm pretty sure none of my other family really even care.
You're her only daughter.
Yeah. But like you said, if your family knows you're a good person, that's really all that should matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you believe, right?
And that goes back to like the stigma around all of this. We are not sacrificing babies.
No.
We are not harming animals. Like, if anything, we pay more respect to animals than half of the other religions out there.
Right?
Yeah.
My animals are my babies.
They are the babies.
I like them better than I like people.
You should hear how I talk to the squirrels outside. Like, there's no reason for it, but still they're a part of our circle.
There's no reason for it. Oh my God, I love it. We had a squirrel like a couple years ago, and he would just like dangle from the tree by his tail.
He on X Games mode.
we would call him Mr. Bo Dangles because he would just dangle from the tree. He was adorable.
That's a perfect name.
Yeah.
Perfect name.
Yeah.
I didn't have, who did I fear most? I think mom, if my mom listens to this, she probably did not know I had a YouTube until now. So
Really?
I'm sorry, mom, I didn't tell you, but you
Yeah.
know, here you go.
Yeah, see, my mom, she knows I have a YouTube channel because
Yeah.
she would stream my videos over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Get you that watch
So I
time.
can get my monetization. I'm pretty sure I'm only monetized right now because of my mom. So thanks, mom. I know we didn't see eye to eye on all of the
So
religious
supportive.
growing up, but she is literally the most supportive person that
ODD.
of my stuff that I know. And I have to say, she's probably one of the ones that asked me for tarot readings the most at this point.
Oh,
I
mama.
did a video of I did a reading for her, and she always asks me the same question about her job.
Does she? Oh, does she?
Yeah,
So
she's like, what's going on with my job now? Am I gonna be able to retire early, or is your father gonna keep
Oh
making
my
me
God.
work?
How cute.
So yeah, so no, she's totally cool now. Now, like, I'm an adult. I have my life. She knows that. And it's just, it's cool.
Yeah.
Cool now.
For not being for being like very Catholic, I remember she was the one who bought me my first tarot deck. I still have
Really?
it. It's was one of those decks. It's not Barnes and Noble. I get it wrong every time. But Borders Books. And it
Okay.
was in one of those like spinny kiosks right at the checkout where you could get the travel sized little packets of things. And it was a
Yeah.
little travel sized tarot deck. And I said, Mom, can I have this? And she looked at it and she was like, why do you want it? I was like, because it interests me. And that she was like, okay.
Okay.
And that was it. So I think against her better judgment at the time, she was like, okay, I guess I'll get it. But I was probably in 7th grade or something like that. So this project, like, this is a lot of me coming out of the broom closet. Still, you're always like going to be coming out to people, right?
Yeah. It's a
Right.
work in progress, right? It's not like you're gathering everybody in the town square and be like, I'm a witch.
It's no
Right?
phone tree
It's
situation.
no phone
It's not
tree
that easy.
No, definitely
Yeah.
not. Whoever needs to know needs to know. Whoever doesn't need to know doesn't need to know. And that's how I
right.
feel about it,
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you ever still feel awkward or weird about owning the title witch?
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a thermos that says the word witch across it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the only thermos. It's Ray Dunn, by the way. I don't know if you
Yeah.
Dunn. She's like a big deal right now.
She is.
She did all like the cool Halloween merchandise that you see all up in Home Goods around Halloween time. But I have a tumbler, like a tea or coffee tumbler. It keeps beverages very warm and very cold if it needs to, right? So this is the only thermos that I really have that can keep my beverages to a suitable temperature. But it has the word witch across it, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm always kind of hesitant to take it to work, right? Because, I don't know, people might see it and get some kind of wrong idea, or they assume something, especially if it's not around Halloween time. If you're just donning a witch mug, it's a very bold statement on a coffee mug.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm kind of like careful where I bring it, who I bring it around. So, I took one of Avi's tumblers to work recently because his is just a very plain, what are those tumblers called?
Like a Yeti?
Yeah, the Yeti ones. And they're just plain color, very plain Jane, right? So I took one of his to work one day and I come home and he's like, Is that my tumbler? I'm like, yeah, why? He's like, well, why don't you use yours? I was like, well, because it says witch on it. He's like, so what?
Bring that with me.
He's like, so what? And I'm just like, I feel weird, like, So, some like stupid stuff like that. So how about you? Do you feel still weird owning that title at all?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. If somebody asks, I usually say pagan.
Yeah.
And then they ask, well, what's that? Because it has maybe less of a stigma because there's more intrigue. And what you were saying about your tumbler is going back to like, you don't have to wear it on your t-shirt that you're a witch. But that tumbler is so cute though.
The tumbler's so badass. I freaking love it.
Super cute for a Ray Dunn. Like, super
but
cute.
like, okay, I don't hesitate to bring that tumbler around anybody that I know.
Yeah.
But for like somebody that doesn't really know me, it's like a little different. Like, I don't want them to get any kind of like preconceived notions or stereotypical thoughts. You know what I mean? That's kind of more of
you know
like
what you mean.
what I'm thinking of.
I have two little like separate stories. So the one that's closest to that is like I got a little tiny round sticker that says witchy woman, and that is on the back of my car.
I love that song. I love that
I
song.
know. But
It
girl,
could
driving
it
it
could
around the
just
deep
be
south, you don't
yeah,
know.
but it could
But
just be the song that you're referring to, you
I
know?
don't know. I also do have like a little black cat sticker sitting on a skull.
Okay. Okay.
So I didn't really think of it until lately. Like I have to bring my car in to get serviced a lot more now because it's just janky. But
Yeah.
I'm like, shoot, are they gonna see that sticker and treat me different? What I
Mm.
mean? Or if I am parked outside my work, are the guests gonna kind of look at that car and treat me different?
Yeah.
But another,
That's why. Let me say real quick, that's why I have no bumper stickers.
yeah.
I don't like I feel like it's just a target. Like if somebody doesn't like because bumper stickers and like any kind of like car stickers, that's basically just like a a billboard for who you are as a person, right? Like you put your
Mhm.
beliefs and stuff on bumper stickers. And I
Mhm.
always thought that that was like such a weird thing to do because like are you asking to get your car like friggin' banged up if somebody doesn't agree with your point of view? Like
This is true. Yeah, it's very true.
I don't want to
So
be that target.
another little decal I have on, I don't know if you've seen it's a Norse rune. It's the circle rune. And all the different like wheel spokes are like different. I don't remember. I'm not
Does it
gonna
say coexist?
no. It's a circle and if I find the picture, I'll show you.
Okay.
But anyway, I have that on my car because it's the rune for like like maps, like knowing your way, like finding your way home. And I'm like, it's on my car. It's kind of funny,
Yeah,
finding your way
yeah.
home.
That's
Dude,
cute.
okay, I'll try to make the story short. There's a guy I used to pass every day on the way home from work. He was always in his tractor and he would always be flipping off the cars on his road. And like you go behind, you're driving behind him, he's gonna flip you off. You try to pass him, he's gonna flip you off. I passed him one day and he like turned and spat at my car. All
Ew.
right. All right. I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck? The next day, I was like, I know he's going to be out there. He was on the opposite side, flipping somebody off. He had gotten out of his tractor. Tractor's still going. I pull up. I was like, thinking back on this now was probably not a safe idea, but I had a door locked. I cracked the window. I pulled over and I was like, hey, man, like I passed you the other day. You didn't seem very happy. I don't really know the laws out here. I didn't know if you weren't allowed to pass. I'm sorry. He was like, no, it's cool. Like people litter on my road all the time and it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're good. We're cool. And then he pointed to my bumper sticker and he pointed, it was loud. So he like pointed to the bumper sticker or it's on the car window, back window. And then he pointed to the back of his calf. He had that tattoo on the back of his calf.
Shut the fuck
And
up.
I was like, cool. Then he turns around. There's a Confederate flag on his hat. And I was like, son of a bitch. Damn it.
You just lost all of the brownie points you gained. Fuck you.
I know. And it's really awful that a lot of the Norse runes have been like taken over by the alt right or whatever they call them, neo-Nazis.
Fuck
So
them.
I'm like, damn it. I wasted my time being nice. But giving witches a good name, be nice.
Yeah, man.
But don't take no shit.
Kill them with kindness. Exactly. Take no shit.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's my story.
I like that story. Well, I don't like that asshole, but you know.
Yeah, but yes, exactly. But I don't say usually that I'm a witch. I say pagan. It's just easier to confront those questions that come after.
I feel like you're taken more serious when you use pagan because pagan is actually like the term for the actual, I guess, not religion, spirituality. Yeah, like witch is more of like the stereotypical, like you think of the Hollywood with either the green face or somebody in a hooded robe summoning demons. Like that's, you know what I mean?
I think people picture more woo. People are thinking you're sitting on the ground with crystals on your naked body, like shouting at the ceiling. I don't know. I don't think it's taken as seriously, but it should be.
Right.
Yeah. It's absolutely a serious thing. It's has so much reverence behind it. That's where I'm at.
I think a lot of my family, honestly, they know who I am as far as like they know I love Halloween. They know I love all the spooky shit. Hi, punky baby. Did you eat your baby? Eat the food?
He's like, oh.
They know, I had the Halloween wedding.
Mhm.
I go to Salem every freaking year for Halloween.
Mhm.
We do Halloween up around here. Like, it's no secret that I'm like into some spooky stuff, right?
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
family,
you're spook
close
queen.
friends. I'm the
Yeah.
spooky queen around here, right? So I don't think it's any secret to anybody. Like, it's just a natural progression into the realm of the occult and esoteric and metaphysical. Like, I think it's just expected of me at this point, but there is like that thing about like meeting new people, meeting
Mhm.
strangers, like how
Mhm.
are they going to receive me? Like stuff like, I guess, like people who don't really know me on that level yet.
Yeah.
That's who I'm more so like worried about. But I
Yeah.
feel like you vibe, or you vibe when you find your tribe, is like the saying, right? I
Mhm.
feel like I naturally attract people like me at this point in my life because I know who I am and I know
Mhm.
the type of people I want to attract. So I usually don't really waste too much time even associating with people who I know aren't going to give me that good energy back.
The next question is, how do you feel about witch talk as a means of introducing the younger generation to their own magical paths?
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about this before when we were talking about the legacy, the craft, the legacy, and
Mhm.
witch talk, and seeing that tarot table in the middle of Barnes and Noble, just like out in the open, and like the whole aisle, the whole metaphysical book aisle right by the coffee bar, like
Mhm.
it's more mainstream now. And I think as a kid, as like a sixth, seventh grader in like the mid 90s, I wish it was more accepted. I wish I didn't have to hole myself up in the upper corner of a library or a bookstore and be embarrassed if somebody that I knew walked past the aisle and saw me standing there reading those books.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of envious of kids nowadays that they have it so easy to be open with who they are. And I think witch talk and I think that whole scene kind of made it easier for kids to kind of explore their spirituality a lot more, and it's a lot more accepted now. And I am a little envious that it wasn't as open and free flowing when I was that age, because
Mhm.
I think I would have flourished. And I think I would have flourished in my path a lot sooner, because I I had it probably until I was 20, and then once I like was in my like 20s, I abandoned it altogether.
Mhm.
I was not in touch with my magical side at all throughout my 20s. It wasn't until I was like 31, 32 that I started coming back around and really recognizing that it wasn't a phase as a teenager. I was like,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. This is who I am.
Yeah, same.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah. Do you feel envious, or like do you what is your whole take on the youth today and coming into their paths?
The
The
youths.
youth. The youth. You.
I will agree with you, but I will also say that I think that it also is not taken as seriously. It is a spirituality, and it is trying to get yourself closer to the divine or
The higher power, right?
intellect. And I don't know, as an aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kiddos are just using it for that,
Right.
which, all right, it's a trend, which we kind of touched on. But it's also a lot of people's, that is their life. And I don't know, that's somebody's lifestyle. But
Right.
like we said, like witches come in every shape, size, form, color,
Yeah. There ain't no
all
rule.
over the world. The information is there, but also like getting the right information. And
Mm-hmm.
like, what's up with trying to hex the moon, guys?
Wait,
The
what?
fuck? This
Am I
was
old that I don't know what?
this was like 9, 10 months ago. Like baby witches were trying to hex the moon.
Why? Why?
Why? I don't
Why?
know, because witch talk.
Good switch talk.
Kids are
Yeah,
fucking stupid.
I guess that's the thing that I don't like about. I mean, there's pros and cons about everything, right?
Right.
Gonna be those asshats out there that are gonna do stupid shit like that and spread misinformation, and that's really unfortunate. But
It is because we
um,
already have like a bad name.
I
Give us
know,
a good
exactly.
name, y'all.
Exactly. And I mean, the craft legacy didn't do us any favors either, so I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay.
But and also when, I was a teenager in the 90s, the word aesthetic didn't even exist. Social media didn't even exist, right? So, I mean, but then again, the craft did exist, practical magic did exist, Sabrina the Teenage Witch did exist.
We emulated that without like we were trying to copy it without knowing
Right,
what
right.
aesthetic was.
Right. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, it started maybe as a phase in fun and games for us as teenagers. And maybe that's just what these new witch talk kids are doing to, kind of see if it's their vibe.
Yeah,
That's what they say now. It's not my, it's my vibe. Yeah. Maybe they're trying to just feel it out, see if it's their vibe. Maybe they'll ditch it in their 20s and come back to it in their 30s and be like, oh no, this really is who I am. And then maybe they'll get into seasonal witchcraft. Maybe they'll learn the wheel of the year. Maybe they'll be an old biddy like us, just gardening and, you know,
hosting a podcast, talking about when it was my day.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like whether they're serious about it now or not, maybe it doesn't matter. They're teenagers. They're having fun. It's dark and it's mysterious and it's alluring. And that's all the reasons why we were interested in it when we were teenagers, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe one day they will take it seriously, hopefully.
I hope so.
And the people who aren't serious are going to drop off, and then it was a fad to them, and then fuck them anyway. So who cares?
Yeah. I just don't really love like the people who are making money off of these things. Like, what the hell is that Gwyneth Paltrow shit? Goob?
Oh, Goop.
Yeah, fuck that. No. I don't appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, I watched a kind of like a mini documentary last night. Do you follow Vice's YouTube channel?
Mm-mm.
They do like a lot of like political pieces and like, you know, a lot of, I guess, journalism around, you know, I don't know, not like some pop culture, but mostly like, you know, political stuff and like propaganda and like stuff in other countries and blah, blah, blah. They did a whole piece. I watched this literally yesterday. There was a video where Vice went to this retreat for multimillionaires. Have you ever heard of Mind Valley?
No.
There's this company called Mind Valley. I actually followed this guy like a while ago when I was like in my early 30s, kind of trying to refine my spiritual path. And he was one of the people that like I came across just like on YouTube and like just watching his videos and stuff. He's this like self-made millionaire guru, like spiritual guru, kind of like on tier with like a Gabby Bernstein or like a Danielle Laporte. Do you know any of those?
Yeah.
So, you know, a positive like a public speaker, like somebody who's like, you know,
got that big ass following.
Exactly. Yes. Cult like, right?
Cult like, right?
Talk about cult like. Yeah. So Vice actually went to one of his little I guess retreats, and that didn't really paint it in the best of lights. Yeah.
Really?
It's very interesting. Yeah.
And
so
where can we find this on YouTube?
That's on YouTube. We can link it below.
All right.
But I just thought it was very interesting. Like what we were talking about right before this. I don't remember where I was going with this point.
Making money off of spirituality.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, like, you know, these gurus that have these huge followings just market this shit to multimillionaires, and they're just making bank because these millionaire people have to fill some kind of void in their life, because I think he even said in the video, like, it gets lonelier at the top. So like these people who like, I guess, make all this money, like they start, I guess their friends, their social circles kind of like get smaller because they trust less people because they have more money.
Yeah.
So these retreats are kind of like a way for them to kind of like socialize with other people who are in that same boat.
Ooh.
It's very weird.
That is very weird.
Yeah, but watch the it's like a mini doc. It's like 20 minutes long.
Okay.
But I thought it was very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that goes back to trust. Like, again, like what were we saying before about like like being in the Catholic Church? Like, you kind of run out when you're told these things. You're like, who do I trust? If you're telling me one thing and the Bible says the other thing, but in the Old Testament it says this thing, like I can't trust any of this.
Right.
And then with witch talk, it's like, where's the source in this? Like, where it's coming back to? But you're absolutely right. Like, if I was a kid, exactly like you said, I totally fell off the wagon with paganism through high school and college, and got married, and then came back to it. But I always knew, like, in the back of my mind, like, I was different. Like, I could hear things and I experienced things differently, and I was special, as they say.
Yeah.
But yeah, say again.
There's a little witch in all of us.
I know. All right. So has the metaphysical and occult's arrival in the mainstream made it easier for you to own your power and practice your craft more openly? And
100%. 100%.
Yes.
Like I said, I used to have to hide in bookstores to kind of like read or take books out of the library. Like I used to feel super awkward about it. Yeah. Now you find crystals in the home goods. Like,
it's more awkward buying tampons than it is buying a metaphysical book.
I know. Like I
More
don't
condoms, you know?
yeah, like I don't feel that sense of awkwardness that I used
Oh,
to.
Punky.
I
Punky
don't feel
just
that.
slid into
Yeah,
her
you see that?
DMs.
He's so smooth. He's about to lay down right now. He's so cute.
Mhm.
But I don't feel that sense of awkwardness that I used to, I have to say. So that's kind of nice.
Oh, for sure. I think you nailed it. I'm really rural, so I don't really have to talk to too many people about it. And then if people do see my car, like I'm never gonna see that person again, hopefully.
Yeah.
So then what does the term witch mean to you now?
Personally, did you hear that song that like there's like a new song on, I think it actually got famous on TikTok. It's like W period I period T period. It's like an anagram.
Yeah, no.
It's called Witch. And
Okay.
it's like rumors on a dinner, na. You never heard that song? Oh, okay.
Uh-uh.
We're gonna have to play it. Maybe, I don't know, at the end of this episode, or I don't know, we'll link it somewhere. But basically
Yeah.
the anagram WITH. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I don't know where this came from. I did not make this up. I can't take credit for it. But the anagram witch stands for woman in total control of herself.
Cool. I like
So like,
that.
it's just a woman or a man. It doesn't matter what you are. It's just a person, human being owning their power. That's
In
what a witch is.
total
That's
control
what
of herself
exactly.
or
That's what a witch.
himself.
That's what a witch is to me. Somebody who's just in their power. Don't really give any fucks other than like not harming anybody else. Just
Right.
being kind to natures, being kind to animals, doing things that are good for the environment. Just doing what you can to put your positive imprint on the world, and just leave it in a better place than how you found it.
Dude, exactly. That's
Mhm.
almost exactly how I explain it to people. When I did my cousin's wedding in October, one of the older gentlemen pulled me aside and like we were walking to the reception and he's like, "So I hear you're a witch. What does that mean?" And I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Oh
god.
shit. Oh
What?
shit." Not from my side of the family. It was from the bride's side. So I was like, "Okay." And
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Well, we believe in honoring nature and the cycles of the year and the cycles of life in general. Being kind to others, giving back, taking care of the earth, everything you just said, not harming anyone. And we believe that like we're all connected,
Yes.
and taking care of each other. So that's
Yeah.
definitely, and I think you and I kind of lean more toward the wheel of the year in honoring, that's more for me, that's more of my practice is honoring the different times of the year and the sowing and the
100%.
reaping and how it connects with our bodies, especially as women. So yeah, that's what witch means to me.
Yeah. And also being in touch, like I'm super in touch with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's honoring all of those cycles of nature, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So the last question is, this is the 10th question. Are you at a place where you feel comfortable to call yourself what you are? And can we say it?
Fuck yeah.
Let's say it. Well,
I'm
I'm a
a
witch.
witch.
How did that feel?
I'm about it.
Man,
Who
it's
gives a
time.
shit?
It's time. I think at this point, if you're 9 episodes into our podcast and you didn't know we were a fucking witch at this point, you got other problems.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I don't know if we ever, besides the first episode where we kind of talked about like finding the path, like, yeah, we're not just like fans of the show, like our show movie. This kind of helped build our spirituality. Like this gave us a little foothold into what paganism means. So you have two witches hosting the show for you and just giving you a little more of a background on what witchcraft is. So I think that's pretty tits.
It is tits. Tits McGee.
Tits McGee.
Tits McGits. Tits my grits.
Yeah, tits my grats.
Tits my grits. I just have to say that I guess that was our official Sally moment, huh?
Yeah, yeah. To all the ears.
Because neither one of us like really ever declared it, right? We're always kind of
Mm-mm.
we're tiptoeing around the eggshells.
Yeah, tiptoeing around the eggshells, beating that horse when we get there.
But now we're Sally. We summon the phone tree.
Y'all are our phone tree. Oh dang.
So
All
now
right.
you guys can answer those introspective questions if you want to. You can get those on our Patreon. I'll put together a nice little printable PDF for you. So
That's so nice of you.
You can do some self-reflecting and embark down that journey of coming out of your broom closet.
Great.
So that leads me to this very last little cool thing that I kind of came across by accident today. While I guess I don't know why I was looking for this. I just typed in coming out of the broom closet on Amazon just to see if there was like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, first of all, this book is free on Kindle, so you should definitely go check it out. And it's also, or you can buy it on paperbook on Amazon for $9.99. This is
Okay.
not sponsored, by the way. I just literally came across this today and I thought this was
Okay.
so fitting. Okay. So the book is called Coming Out of the Broom Closet, a collection of stories from modern day witches. And I'm actually not sure who wrote that. So let me go see real quick. Author is The Mama TM is the name of the author.
Okay.
All right. So the synopsis, okay, ready? So it says, whether you were born into a family already practicing or stumbled onto your path on your own, identifying publicly as a pagan is a huge step to take. It is lightheartedly referred to within the pagan community as coming out of the broom closet. Here you will find a collection of stories from several pagans, Wiccans, and witches of the modern day. We invite you to enjoy their stories of finding their paths, taking the steps to stop hiding their true selves from the world, and how those decisions have affected their lives and families. 6 of these stories are the tales of the administrators of an online community known as the Pagan Mama. You can find us at thepaganmama.com, and that's MAMA. We are an ever-growing community of men and women dedicated to assisting, caring, and most importantly, supporting one another. Now, here's where
Wow.
it gets really freaking weird, okay?
What?
I clicked on, like, you know how on Amazon you can do, like, the view of, like, a snippet of the book?
Yeah.
So I clicked on this.
Yeah.
This is the very first page of the book. Ready?
Okay.
It opens with a quote.
Okay, ready.
My darling girl, when are you going to realize that being normal is not necessarily a virtue? It denotes rather a lack of courage. Aunt Frances Alice Hoffman, Practical Magic. And then she goes on to say, cliche, right? We couldn't tell our stories without a practical magic quote, and I promise you that this quote is in fact relevant to this story. I would like to tell you that my path as a witch started as a wee child passed on from generations before, but I would be lying. I would also like to tell you that I have some sort of psychic ability, but that would be lying as well. What I have and have always had is a respect for the world around me, a friendship with the elements, and the love for a good book. 1998 was a good year. Actually, the 90s just plain rocked. Choker necklaces, beanie babies, Tamagotchi, really good hip hop music. Need I say more? Which we just talked about on like one of our last episodes.
Yeah.
And it says, at the awkward age of 10, a life-changing event happened. I went to the movies. Do you get where I'm going with this?
Oh my God.
Remember that quote that I mentioned would be relevant? Well, here's the relevance. The movie was Practical Magic. I walked out of that movie hooked on magic. I went straight home, grabbed a candle, and concentrated for at least 5 hours trying to get that damn candle or that darn candle to light. It flickered okay. Scratch that. It didn't, but you can't blame me for trying, right? I looked at the world differently after that. I saw magic everywhere. A few years after that, I grabbed my first book on witchcraft, The Craft by Dorothy Morrison. This is when I really realized that this is my path, and I felt something in a faith that I have never felt before. I felt home. Although my newfound path left me excited, I do have to say that one thing got in the way for a while: my raging hormones. My moon cycle came, and with that, my love for the opposite sex. I am happy to say that one of those creatures wound up being my life partner and the father of my little witchlings. And during that time, I was too hooked on teenage things and drama to really be motivated to do any sort of practice. I found my practice again at the age of 22. And were we just talking about that? Like we kind of abandoned it for a while to kind of go through life, go through its changes, kind of really find ourselves as an adult, like coming into our adulthood, and then coming back to it at a later point, kind of like more mature and ready to accept who we are and like that we're ready to follow.
The Sally moment.
Right. Yeah. So, the intro goes on to say a little bit more. I'm trying to see if there's anything else related to practical magic in here, but
That's so cool.
Yeah, at the end of this chapter, she goes, dream big, my witches. And since I am bad at concluding paragraphs, we will take one from Alice Hoffman's very own Sally Owens. Now, one person's journey in life is the same, but here are some things I know for certain. Always throw spilled salt over your left shoulder, keep rosemary by your garden gate, plant lavender for luck, and fall in love whenever you can. So I just thought, how amazing. Even this book on freaking Amazon, this random book that I just friggin',
the intro is that. I don't know if Alice Hoffman realizes how many witches she has created in like the unknown coven that has sparked from that book / movie.
Absolutely. And this is why this movie means so much to so many of us who are
It helps us come to our true selves.
yeah. And Sally and, the whole Owens family have showed us that it doesn't have to be this big, like, abracadabra type of thing. Like, it's things you find in your everyday life, just finding that magic in the mundane. Like,
oh, for sure.
Connecting with the earth, connecting with the elements, connecting with your loved ones around you, creating a community and a sense of sisterhood and bonding, and with other women, even men. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, the fact of the matter is that this movie has touched so many people and so many witches coming into their paths. And it's just I feel like this is like the foray, and like for people, like, really be like, okay, it's time to own it. I'm a witch, like, coming out of the broom closet,
That's so great.
It's crazy how this whole episode just came full circle.
Full fucking circle.
Love
great
those
find. Great job.
I wanted to surprise you with that. That's why I didn't put it in the
You are sneaky Sagittarius. I love it. That was great.
Yeah, man. So
that was great.
That's what we got, man. That's what we got for you guys. That's the episode, I think, right?
We hope that you enjoyed this. This is the last episode of 2022.
Holy shit.
It feels like we just got started. Like, I know we've been started since October, but girl, it's the end of December.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, well, you guys are hearing this episode at the end of December, but me and Christina actually started this whole journey, well, this whole podcast journey rather, at the beginning of September. So really, like, it really has not been that long at all.
But we're having such a good time.
Oh, it's a blast. It's a blast.
This is literally, like I said, I cannot get over doing stuff for this podcast and like talking and researching and listening and reading stuff about practical magic and Alice Hoffman. And like one of our reviews said, like, you just want to keep living in that world.
Yeah.
And you do something you love, you don't work a day in your life. This is not work to me at all. It's so much fun. But I have to remind myself that now it is, like, we're responsible for this precious story. Thank you, Alice Hoffman, for following us. It's the baby. And we were not granted permission to do that, but like, we'll take care of it. We promise.
Yeah. Do you feel like her following us in a way is kind of her just like giving us her blessing? I hope.
I don't know.
Or is it just her doing her research so she could send us a cease and desist?
Yeah. Yep. She's taking notes. Yeah. She's going to be like, please stop swearing so much and stop hailing Satan.
There is no devil in the craft. Thank you, Miss Sally Owens.
That's right. Oh, fuck. Thank you, guys. We hope you enjoyed this. We're going to give you some socials on where to find us. Yeah. So you can participate and fill out that little questionnaire that Justina put together on just the introspective questions on where you are in your path and how you got there, and just meditate on those.
Yeah. You can find all that at patreon.com/Magnolia Street Podcast. And all of those, I guess the after hours posts, are those, what tier is that? I don't even fucking know.
I believe they start at the $3 tier. You get the after hours.
So the after hours plus the show notes, right? Is the $3 tier? Okay.
Yes.
You can find our after hours post as well as any kind of show notes on our $3 tier on Patreon. Any Facebook Lives in the future, if you guys want to join us on those, you can join our $5 tier, and that gets you access into our private Facebook community and our private Discord server.
So on that Discord server, y'all, we're going to be starting that book club read along starting in January. And we're going to be starting with actually Maria's story. If we haven't said that already in any of the other recordings, I don't think we have. But we're going to do these chronologically. So it'll be Maria's story, then the aunt story and rules of magic, then practical magic, then book of magic. We're going to tackle Maria's story first. So if you want to tag along, we're going to have, so the Discord server also has like a voice channel. So we're going to be getting together and discussing questions and thoughts about that section of the book. So y'all know what a book club is. Come and hang out with us. It's
going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited. And as we probably proved earlier on in this episode, me and Christina have read all the books at this point. I'm still fishing my way through the very last book of magic, but we've read the previous books a couple of times over now at this point, I feel like, right? And we were already pretty cloudy on some information, so we have to already brush up on our shit.
To go back in is just going to help so much with the show too, though. Like, we're going to be able to highlight so much more stuff and get insights from you guys too. And like, not that we're just fishing for content and just want to use your content, but we love the stories. And that I'm totally ready to jump back in. Dude, I just finished Maria's story last month.
Me too.
We're going to start this one again.
And I read Rules of Magic again last month for like the second time. And now like going this morning when we were trying to figure out like what that one line Isabel said and we couldn't find it. We're like, shit, we need to read this again.
Yeah.
All
Find us on Patreon, and most of y'all have found us on Instagram. We're at Magnolia Street Podcast on Instagram. Alice Hoffman is over there now. So you find us outside. How about that?
Yeah.
So
yeah, if you want to join the Heroes tier, you can get some really neat bonus episodes, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna do a few bonus. We talked about doing some bonus episodes that snowball off this episode, right? We wanted to talk about some other thing. Maybe we'll do an episode for this.
There's
episode.
plenty of stuff over there.
Oh my god, I know. Yeah, we already have a couple bonus episodes up there. We have a meditation over there, and by now you should have already heard our very first song-a-sode stream over on the Patreon for our song Magnolia Street, the intro and outro song to this podcast. So if you want to listen to that song in its entirety, head on over to the $8 Heroes tier and get all of that cool stuff. And for as little as $1 a month, you can weigh in on our Patreon polls and just tell us what you want to hear us talk about. You decide the next episode.
Dude, it's $1 and you don't even have to keep that dollar going into the next month.
Right.
You lose that. 4 quarters could roll out of your pocket just as easily. So why not take it and put it to a poll that you get to hear what you want to hear on the Magnolia Street Podcast.
Hear what you want to hear, say what you want to say, live how you want to live, play how you want to play. Do you remember the Addams Family theme song in the 90s? It didn't MC Hammer do that shit?
I don't remember that one at all.
You're making me feel old again. Please brush up on your 90s movies so you know what I'm talking about.
No, they're creepy and they're kooky. Mysterious and spooky, girl.
No, that's the original. I'm talking about the credit rolling, the credit song for the 90s movie Addams Family.
Okay. I will go and listen to that.
Just YouTube Addams Family theme song by MC Hammer. It's lit. It's too legit to quit.
Okay. Yeah. But tell us where they can email us.
At magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com.
Awesome. And like we said, y'all, we want to do more song-a-sodes, but we need some ratings if we haven't gotten them by now. So we're looking to try to get
reviews, right?
Yes. So, we're trying to get a few more written reviews and a couple more ratings. They don't have to be 5 stars. 5 stars would be great. We want your honest opinion on how to improve. So leave us a written review on the Apple Podcast and you get another song-a-sode.
Okay, Celine Dion, thank you. I will say that if you are going to leave us a 1-star review, at least leave us constructive criticism as to why you left us a 1-star review. Don't just be that douche.
Yeah. Who's that guy?
Who was that one person that gave us a 1-star review for no freaking...
Then erased it.
Exactly. It was probably one of us that did it by accident. And we're over here blaming some random person.
I know. Definitely tell us how to improve.
Yeah, we want constructive criticism. Yeah, we would. All right, man. Is that it? Did we?
That ain't it. We need to know that you can also leave us a voicemail.
No, I think we said that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah. Just to reiterate, there's a link in the description below, and it's through Anchor. And you're able to leave us a little voice message if you so desire. But we want to wish everyone a happy season. This comes out on the 30th, so we want to wish you a happy New Year. And my aunt always said, be safe, be smart. You don't have to behave. So I'm going to leave you with that.
That
Just
sounds like
safe.
Something that Aunt Isabel would say.
That's right. And I love it. I love it. Thank you guys for coming today and Happy New Year.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us on Magnolia Street. I'm Justina.
And I'm Christina.
And we'll see you next time.
At that house down the street. At that house on Magnolia Street. Would you go down to Magnolia Street with